Zhang Bin, known as the school bully, possessed a divine realm with 5,000 familiars. The scene reveals the person Zhang is yelling at, Han Wu, the story's main protagonist. Han Wu is known for having a core familiar with seemingly useless locusts. Let's find out why Han dares to challenge the school bully. The scene shifts to a day earlier when Han first crossed over into the present world, a place where anyone can become a god. The original owner of Han's body was a miserable failure, a poor individual who awakened his divine realm at 18 but only managed to get locusts as his familiars. After arriving in this world, Han learned that his parents were lost in the Star Sea of the Imperial Capital Academy. However, he believed they were still alive, and if given the chance in the future, he vowed to find them. At school, a girl named Qin Shuang told Han that she could guarantee his high school graduation if he agreed to become her slave and provide enough food for her Thunderbird. The school bully Zhang also demanded that Han bring him 100 points of divine power by Monday. If Han failed, Zhang threatened to lead his dwarf legion to invade Han's divine realm and kill his familiars. After this, Han grew tense, wondering how he could beat this game starting at hell difficulty. With his locust familiar, he knew he wouldn't stand a chance of getting into the top college, the Imperial Capital Academy. Still, he decided to first deal with that blonde-haired bully. It wasn't his style to stick his neck out just to be slaughtered, and as a time traveler, it would be a bit disrespectful not to struggle and resist. He then connected to the god's domain and entered a new world, one filled with lush greenery. The grass was covered with numerous locusts, lying leisurely under the sun. When Han checked his status board, he noticed new abilities called Life Sacrifice and Chosen One. He remembered that there had been no such abilities before. Han then asked the status board to explain the terms. After reading the explanation, he realized that Chosen One must be the golden finger he brought with him when he crossed over. And Life Sacrifice was the additional skill with a special attribute he gained at the Divine Being stage. With this kind of heaven-defying golden finger, Han thought that if he worked hard, he might be able to fulfill his grandfather's wish. However, that would only be possible if he survived the school bully's blackmail the next day. Han was confused about how to proceed, but suddenly, he noticed many attributes and abilities he had gained. Then an idea struck him. He decided to take a big gamble. If he won, he would be the master, but if he lost, he would be a failure. The scene shifted to the next day where Qin Shuang approached Han Wu and asked if he had made up his mind about becoming her slave. She promised that, as long as he graduated from high school, no one would bully him. Han responded with a firm no. Shocked, Qin Shuang asked, "What? Why?" She couldn't believe it, as if Han wasn't aware of the situation. She warned that without her protection, those people would squeeze him to death. Han still refused, telling her that he had pride and asking her to leave if she had nothing else to say. Qin Shuang stormed off, shouting that Han would regret his decision. Just then, Zhang arrived and asked Han if he had brought the 100 divine power he had demanded. The others also joined in, trying to bully Han with their warnings. Zhang then placed a hand on Han's shoulder, to which Han immediately shouted, telling Zhang not to touch him. Hearing this, Zhang became furious and shouted, asking how Han dared to speak to him like that. He warned that if Han didn't hand over the divine power, he would destroy Han's divine realm core. At that moment, Han angrily challenged Zhang to try it if he could. Zhang, confused, wondered how Han could be so tough. He began to question whether Han had someone backing him. Suddenly, other students in the class started chanting, urging both of them to fight. They hadn't seen what it was like when a core was destroyed and were eager to witness it. They even provoked Zhang, urging him to get rid of Han. Zhang then told Han that since he was seeking death, Han shouldn't blame him for not giving him a chance. Zhang then took out a card and shouted that dealing with trash like Han, even 10 points of divine power would be a favor to him. Actually, it was an invasion card, worth 10 points of divine power. Once activated and the target locked, it would create a space portal in the target's divine realm, leading to an invasion between the two divine realms. Suddenly, to Han's surprise, he was transferred into the realm and saw a gate. Confused, he asked, "What's this?" Just then, a group of dwarfs emerged from the gate. Then Zhang rose above the gate, and in the name of the dwarf god, ordered his dwarf legion to destroy the weak locusts and crush the core of Han's divine realm. At that, all the dwarfs angrily and furiously roared in unison, their voices echoing with intense fury. The entire scene was broadcasted in front of everyone in the school through a screen. The students were discussing Zhang's army, with some speculating that they were at least ranked in the top 50. Meanwhile, others believed that the dwarf army was already ranked in the top 30 because it even included an elite dwarf. Everyone thought that Han Wu was unquestionably doomed. Qin Shuang also agreed with them, convinced that Han Wu was finished. But suddenly, to everyone's surprise, Han Wu was surrounded by countless self-exploding locusts. He commanded them to attack. Seeing this, everyone was confused, wondering what those red bugs were. Soon, they realized that they were destructive locusts in self-detonation mode. They were all puzzled, questioning how Han had gathered so many locusts. The destructive locusts began attacking the dwarfs, exploding one after another, causing chaos and destruction among their ranks. The scene shifted to one day earlier, when Han had decided to take a gamble. He planned to reserve 100 million adult locusts to maintain species continuity, while the remaining 2.49 billion locusts would be sacrificed. He used his life sacrifice ability to sacrifice all the billions of locusts in exchange for something else. Upon completing the sacrifice, 3 options appeared before him. Seeing the options, Han thought that the 100,000 goblin warriors from option 1 could definitely solve the current crisis. However, since it was a one-time use, they would be gone after the battle, making them useless for the future. The second option, the Lifespring Eye, seemed like a long-term investment, which was also something he needed immediately. However, it wouldn't be able to help him deal with the bullying he would face the next day. As for option 3, it was an investment toward his core familiar, continuously improving it. It seemed like the only viable choice for Han at the moment. He chose option 3, and in response, he gained the self-destruct locust, an elite version he had created. The scene returned to the present, where Han commanded the locusts to destroy themselves. As he watched, he thought to himself that this level of power was definitely not enough to kill an ordinary dwarf. Han realized that if he increased the quantity, it might just work. Within seconds, the entire area was filled with smoke. The students watching grew excited, sensing that things were starting to get interesting. When the smoke cleared, only a few dwarfs remained, including the elite dwarf. Han stood tall in front of them. Seeing this, Qin Shuang smiled, realizing that the situation had become much more interesting than she had initially thought. Zhang, tense and panicked, ordered all the surviving dwarfs to retreat back into the divine realm. Han, however, calmly responded that it was too late for that. He then commanded all the locusts to enter Zhang's portal and invade Zhang's divine realm. The locusts began slowly destroying Zhang's divine realm, causing chaos and devastation. Zhang, furious, shouted at Han to hurry up and demanded that all the locusts get out of his divine realm. Zhang, now fully defeated, admitted his loss. He desperately pleaded with Han, asking him to call off the locusts and have them return. Han smiled and replied, "Didn't Zhang want to crush his divine realm? Since that's the case, it's only natural for Han to crush Zhang's base in return." Zhang, trying to threaten Han, warned him that his parents wouldn't let him get away with this. He mentioned that his father was a demigod and his mother was soon going to become one as well. Despite Zhang's warnings, Han shouted, commanding the locusts to crush Zhang's core no matter the cost. Zhang, now desperate, began crying and begged Han to stop, admitting his defeat and promising that he would never bully Han again in the future. Zhang, in a last-ditch attempt to save himself, asked Han to make any demand he wanted him to satisfy. Han coldly responded that he didn't want anything from him, he just wanted Zhang to die. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a voice came from behind commanding Han to stop, saying that it was enough for the time being. It was Mr. Liu, the school teacher, who spoke up. He told Han to stop, reminding him that he had already won and questioning why he needed to kill them all. Zhang, now in a panic, desperately pleaded with Mr. Liu to save him, as the locusts were getting dangerously close to his divine core. Mr. Liu shouted again, asking Han if he had heard what he said. Han, confused, asked why Mr. Liu was even in the invasion area. Mr. Liu calmly responded that as a class teacher, he had the ability to sense everything that happened within the class. Han then asked, "Where were you, Mr. Liu, when I was getting beaten, bullied, and blackmailed by Zhang Ben? Why didn't you stop him then?" Mr. Liu, thinking to himself, wondered if Han had demigod parents, questioning why he would offend Zhang's family just to help Han. He then repeated his request for Han to stop. Han, however, replied by asking, "If the situation were reversed, would you have done the same for me?" Mr. Liu fell silent, and seeing this, Han understood the unspoken answer. Without hesitation, he destroyed Zhang's divine realm. Afterward, Han turned to Mr. Liu and coldly told him to leave his divine realm. After his defeat, Zhang was tense and felt lost, realizing he was now useless. Meanwhile, Mr. Liu stormed into the classroom, angrily asking where Han was. The students, however, responded that Han must have gone home by now. Mr. Liu angrily shouted that students like Han should be expelled from the school. The scene then shifted to Han's divine realm, where, after reviewing the battle stats, he thought to himself that he needed to cultivate more self-exploding locusts in the future. Han then fused Zhang's divine realm fragment into his own divine realm. After the fusion, seeing the abundant harvest, he was very pleased, thinking that it would sustain him well until his graduation. However, Han couldn't forget Zhang's words about his parents being demigods. He knew this wasn't the end. If Zhang's parents came to investigate and accuse him, the school wouldn't protect him. Realizing he still needed to grow stronger, Han decided to sell the dwarf hammer iron equipment. The moment he clicked the sell button, he was surprised to receive a notification. A request had come back much sooner than he expected. Seeing the offer of a lava fire crystal in exchange, Han thought about its potential. The lava fire crystal could increase the fire resistance of familiars and boost the power of explosions. With this, his locusts could evolve to the next level, making them even more formidable. After acquiring and upgrading the lava fire crystal, Han checked the locust's power. He was impressed to find that their explosive power had increased significantly, now almost equal to that of a grenade. The scene shifted to some time later in the principal's office, where Zhang's father, Mac, was shouting angrily. He demanded an explanation from the school about his son's divine core being shattered. The principal responded, stating that, as far as they knew, the invasion was caused by Zhang himself. He also mentioned that Zhang had a history of bullying, with many other records to back that up. Mac, furious, angrily demanded, "Are you saying that my son Zhang is to blame for the shattering of his divine core and the school isn't responsible at all?" Zhang's mother, Mia, shouted, demanding that the student who shattered her son's core be punished and expelled from the school immediately. The scene moved to Han's divine realm, where he was training. Suddenly, he received a call from Director Xu. When Han answered, Director Xu said that Zhang's parents had come to the school. Director Xu explained the entire incident, saying that Mia had asked her to expel Han. She replied that they had investigated everything and found that Zhang Bin was the one who initiated the invasion of Han's divine realm. Hanbu relied on his own strength and didn't use any shortcuts during the invasion, so they have no reason to expel him from the school. Mia tries to confuse Director Xu with her words, but Director Xu replies that Han has always been a good student who follows the rules. She adds that they have plenty of evidence showing Zhang bullied his classmates multiple times. Mia shouts and demands to know if Director Xu is going to expel Han or not. Director Xu firmly replies no, as they have no grounds to do so. Mia angrily says she accepts the fact that the school won't expel Han. But as the father of the victim, he feels he must speak up, and if the school won't grant him this simple request, he will make things difficult for them. That was the whole incident. Director Xu informed Han that Zhang's parents had proposed sending a team of 1,000 members to invade Han's divine realm. They said they didn't care about the outcome anymore. Director Xu was worried about Han and asked if he could handle it. Han thanked her and said he would go to school the next day to face the challenge. After the call ended, Han realized he didn't have much time left, so it was time to launch the second life sacrifice. He shouted and activated billions of lives sacrificed. Afterward, Han was given 3 options to choose from. As he read through them, he realized that sacrificing 4.8 billion locusts had indeed been worth it. He decided to choose option 3 again, which granted him Zhang Tai Jin Feng, the heroic form of the Jian Feng tribe. Tai Jian was a heroic-level creature. Tai Jian told Han that he needed a sword. Han responded with an "okay, it's no problem." He then began selecting something and shared that after cultivating a significant number of locusts, the power of faith had reached 100 million. This would now be recondensed into a small amount of divine power. With the leftover divine power from selling the land, he now had a total of 54 divine power points. Actually, divine equipment is divided into 4 levels: ordinary equipment, faith equipment, power equipment, and divine equipment. Han chose the faith equipment, the Storm Sword, which cost him 50 divine points. After receiving the sword, Tai Jian slashed it to test its power. After trying it, he shared that he still needed 3 more of these swords to unleash his strongest strength. Hearing this, Han was stunned and wondered, what? 3 more Storm Swords? That's 150 divine power points. Does Tai Jian think divine power points come from the wind? Still, Han knew he had to do something, so he decided to give something a try. The scene then shifted to Qin Shuang's divine realm, where Qin Shuang was meditating. While meditating, Qin Shuang remembered her childhood, when she was drowning in the river and Han had come to save her. After rescuing her, he had kissed her in an attempt to wake her up. Remembering that moment, she became flustered and muttered to herself, Han must be crushed to death. She was also angry because her grandfather was a true god and there were 23 demigods in her family. She wondered, did Han really think she couldn't protect him? Suddenly, she received a call from Han. Surprised, she picked it up and asked, did he change his mind about being her slave? Han responded with a no, explaining that he just wanted to borrow some divine power from her. Qin Shuang, curious, asked, what are you going to give me in return? Shigen told him not to get too happy about defeating Zhang, as he had barely survived the fight. Hearing this, Han apologized for bothering her and quickly ended the call. She became tense, shouting at herself, wondering why those sarcastic words had come out of her mouth. She was scared, thinking that Han must have misunderstood her. She called Han this time, and when he picked up, he frustratedly asked, what now? She simply asked him, how much do you need? A scene then shifted to some time later, where Tai Jian had finally obtained all 4 swords. Afterward, Han told Tai Jian to live up to his expectations for the next day. The following day, everyone at the school was surprised to see Han in class. They wondered if Han was getting carried away and were eager to see if he could remain so calm when the core of his divine domain was destroyed. Seeing their reactions, Han thought that everyone was waiting for him to make a fool of himself. Just then, Qin Shuang arrived and told Han not to waste his efforts, as even if the demigod only sent a team of 1,000 people, it was not something Han could fight against. Han smiled and asked if she thought he had a choice in the matter. She responded with a yes, saying that as long as he became her slave, she would ask her family, consisting of 1 god and 23 demigods, to pressure Zhang's family. Still, Han politely declined the offer with some thoughtful words, seeing Han being treated so differently by Qin Shuang. Everyone around him grew jealous and secretly hoped he would die in the battle. After a few minutes, Mr. Liu entered the classroom with Zhang's parents and pointed Han out to them. Upon seeing him, Mia shouted, telling Han that she would make him pay for destroying her son's divine realm. Mac asked Mia to calm down and not break the school rules. Mr. Liu shouted, telling Han to come quickly and not waste Mac's time. Han responded with a no, saying he wanted to wait for Director Xu to arrive and be a witness. Mr. Liu shouted, warning Han to come quickly and not make him act rudely. Out of nowhere, Director Xu arrived and asked Mr. Liu who he was planning to be rude with. Seeing Director Xu, Mr. Liu grew tense and responded that it was a small matter, he was just disciplining one of his students. Director Xu, however, told him to remember that he was a teacher, not some dog of the demigod. Mac asked if they could get started, and Director Xu turned to Han, asking if he was ready. Han responded with a yes. Mac then activated the invasion card, and Han found himself standing directly in front of the divine gate. Mac's army consisted of elite forms of wolves and orcs, all prepared for battle. Everyone was shocked as the army radiated extraordinary power. The wolf cavalry, a combination of green orcs and dire wolves, stood ready, all wearing a full set of high-quality equipment. Mac told Han that he would make him pay for the incident from the previous day with his blood. Seeing the army, Qin Shuang thought that the entire cavalry could be counted as 2 combat units. She even shouted that this was obviously 2,000 combat units and it was cheating, but it was too late now as Mac had already ordered the wolf cavalry to charge. But Han also had 7 million elite life forms of locusts. Everyone was shocked and confused, discussing how there were only 20,000 elite life forms left the day before. How had Han cultivated so many in just one day? They were a little sad, thinking that Han didn't have enough time to cultivate and now had no real options to win against Mac. Even after millions of locusts were sacrificed, only a few wolves were slightly injured. Mr. Liu shared that Han was indeed a talented student, but he had encountered a hurdle that he wouldn't be able to overcome. He added that if Han had been able to get past it, he would have made a name for himself in the school. Suddenly, a student shouted for everyone to wait, pointing to the screen and asking them to look at what was coming from the sky. Han had used exploding locusts to launch an attack from above. As the explosions from the locusts began happening on the ground, everyone was stunned, wondering how those locusts could be so powerful and how they were spitting magma. Director Xu asked if any teacher or student had the ability to detect the locusts and provide information about them. A student then shared that they were the elite life forms of explosive locusts. Hearing this, Director Xu praised Han for his clever strategy. Mac, however, angrily asked if Han thought he could destroy the cavalry with that and told him to just dream on. He then ordered the wolf cavalry to use their supernatural powers, but wolves used their wind blows to freeze the locusts. Everyone began thinking that it was over, as only 500,000 locusts remained from Han's swarm, and all of his explosive locusts were depleted. They believed he couldn't win now. Max shouted, telling Han that he would show him what desperation truly was. He said that once Han's divine realm was shattered, Han would be expelled from the school and his life would be at Mac's mercy. Mac ordered the wolf army to move forward and crush Han's core. Director Xu also started leaving the room, thinking that it was over. But suddenly, a student shouted, asking everyone to look as something appeared in front of Han's divine realm core. A student pointed out that the man was holding a storm sword, which cost 50 divine power points. Hearing this, everyone was stunned and asked, "What? 50 divine power? That means 4 swords would cost 200 divine power." They shockingly asked, wasn't Han an orphan, and began wondering, what race is Han really from? Director Xu explained that this was the Jianfeng clan, and members of the Jianfeng clan are born as extraordinary life forms. A student then asked, "So what? Didn't the demigod's army have a supernatural life form, the captain of the wolf cavalry?" The plan was for the captain of the wolf cavalry to hold off the Jianfeng for a while the rest of the wolf cavalry would focus on crushing Han's divine realm core. Director Xu thought to himself that based on the appearance of the Jianfeng, it didn't seem like an extraordinary life form, but rather a genuine heroic life form. Even Mac was thinking to himself that he had been struggling for decades but had only managed to produce one heroic life form. Meanwhile, Han, just a senior high school student, seemed to have such a powerful life form. He couldn't understand how that was possible. Max shouted, ordering the wolves to engage in the fight as he was determined to take the heroic life form for himself. He believed that once the core of the divine realm was shattered, the heroic life form of the Giant Fin clan would be his. Hearing this, Taijian became enraged. Max shouted, ordering everyone to focus solely on killing the divine life form. However, the moment the wolves got close to Taijian, he unleashed his level 3 skill, Primary Slash, and effortlessly cut through them. He also used his level 1 primary Whirlwind attack. As the entire army advanced from side to side, he gradually unleashed his iron cutting style, striking down and defeating all of them with precision and power. As he activated the iron cutting style, a massive splash erupted across the entire area. Seeing this, every student in the classroom was shocked, realizing just how powerful Taijian truly was. Mac became tense as he saw his wolves being killed by Taijian. In desperation, he ordered his wolf cavalry captain to flatten both Taijian and Han's divine realm for him. As the wolf cavalry captain walked towards Taijian, suddenly, out of nowhere, a man appeared and asked Mac if he really wanted to break his promise. When Mac looked up, he saw that it was the headmaster. He quickly responded with a no and ordered the wolf cavalry captain to retreat. The headmaster then looked toward Han and said, "Not bad." However, the headmaster's face revealed something else. He seemed very angry or frustrated. The scene then shifted to a few minutes later, where Director Xu praised Han for doing a good job. However, Director Xu also reminded Han not to be complacent just because he had a heroic life form. She explained that heroic life forms aren't invincible, and with Han's current strength, it would be hard for him to even make it into the top 3 grades. Han then told Director Xu that he had a request. He wanted to change classes. Hearing this, Mr. Liu became tense and admitted that he hadn't treated Han well before. Mr. Liu promised to teach Han well in the future. In his thoughts, he realized that if Han continued to develop steadily, he would definitely be able to enter a first-class university or even a top-tier university. Mr. Liu knew that the rewards for the teacher would be incredible if Han succeeded, so he couldn't let him leave the class. But Han persistently shouted, insisting that he definitely wanted to change classes. Director Xu responded that Han couldn't simply change classes like that as the school had its own rules and regulations. However, if Han truly wanted to change classes, he would have to pass a test assigned by the school. Director Xu added that as long as Han could pass the test, she would help him change his classes. Han responded with an okay, agreeing to take the test. Suddenly, Qin Shuang shouted from behind that she would also take the test. Hearing this, Mr. Liu tensely asked Qin Shuang if there was anything she didn't like about her teacher. He told her that she could tell him and he would make sure to change it so she didn't have to go as far as changing classes. Qin Shuang responded that there was no dissatisfaction, she just didn't want to stay in the class. Suddenly, another boy named Zhang Xiaolong stood up and shouted that he also wanted to apply for the test. Mr. Liu was shocked and shouted, asking Xiaolong what he was doing since he was the class monitor. Xiaolong thanked Mr. Liu for his teaching but said he didn't want to stay in class anymore. Deep down, Xiaolong thought he couldn't let anyone else have Qin Shuang. Director Xu said she would prepare a test for them the next day and asked Mr. Liu to come with her. After school ended as Han was heading home, Qin Shuang came from behind and asked him how he got that heroic life form. Han replied that it had nothing to do with her. She shouted that it definitely did because he owed her 150 points of divine power. If he didn't pay, he would have to be her slave to repay the debt, so she had the right to know where his heroic life form came from. Han replied that if she wanted to collect the debt, he could pay her 5 divine power points as interest. But if she wanted to know about the heroic life form, he couldn't tell her that. Han then entered his divine realm, leaving Qin Shuang frustrated. The scene shifted to Han's divine realm, where he was checking the size of his locust army. Just then, Haijun arrived and informed Han that the escaped wolf cavalry was hiding in the mines and asked if they should destroy them. Han thought about how the wolf cavalry hadn't been completely wiped out as dozens of them had escaped. The Zhang gang dependents staying in his divine realm were ultimately a threat and needed to be eradicated quickly, but killing them directly would be a waste. So Han instructed Taijian to capture them and ensure they were kept alive. Taijian responded with a quick okay and went to capture the wolves. The scene then shifted to 2 hours later where Taijian had captured all the wolf cavalry, totaling 24. Han sacrificed all 24 of them with 1 billion common locusts. In return, he acquired 1 alpha mech, 1 furnace artifact, and 3 watchtowers. Han was confused, wondering what the use of these items was since he had no one to operate them. Suddenly, he remembered that he had a few hundred dwarves that he had gotten from John Bin. Han activated his god's eye and saw that the dwarves were working in the mines. The dwarves thanked Han for giving them such a wonderful life. Seeing this, Han thought that it seemed the dwarves' talent was in mining and building equipment and John Bin had forced them to fight. He considered using them as logistical resources and the furnace could come in handy for that. Han gave the dwarves the furnace, asking them to forge better equipment. The scene then shifted to the school, where all the teachers were having a meeting together. Mr. Liu shared information about the test for the 3 students and asked for everyone's thoughts. One teacher pointed out that since the top 3 students were changing classes, it was clear that Mr. Liu was giving them special benefits. Mr. Liu shared that he didn't care about Qin Shuang's and Xiaolong's tests, but for Han's test, he insisted it should be raised to the highest level. He believed students who didn't respect their teachers should be punished severely. Deep down, Mr. Liu was angry with Han because, due to Han, he had been scolded by Director Xu and lost his semester's salary. Surprisingly, all the teachers agreed with Mr. Liu. The scene then shifted to some time later in the classroom, where Mr. Liu gave all 3 of them their test requirements. Han was stunned when he saw his requirement, as he had to defend himself against 10,000 foreign invaders. Director Xu asked Mr. Liu if he would reconsider Han's test. Mr. Liu responded that it was a decision made by all the classroom teachers. Han also told Director Xu that it didn't matter, as Mr. Liu probably wanted him to show off his abilities. Hearing this, Mr. Liu got angry and shouted at Han, telling him not to get cocky. Qin Shuang came to Han again, offering him the same deal of becoming her slave, but Han denied her offer and told her to see him after the test. Hearing this, Qin Shuang was angry, thinking that Han's behavior was very ungrateful. Yahello was also pleased and, deep down, thought that Han was going to make a fool of himself. The test started, and this time, goblins appeared in front of Han. The students murmured and discussed the fact that Han had offended Mr. Liu. Seeing the goblins, Han became tense and thought that bastard Liu doesn't deserve to be called a man. Mr. Liu angrily told Han that he should blame himself for rejecting his kindness. He added that now the army of 10,000 red goblins would be enough to destroy Han's divine realm. One student even pre-congratulated Mr. Liu for getting his revenge. Mr. Liu responded that there was no such thing as hatred between teachers and students. He added that after this test, Han would surely understand the good intentions of his teachers. Director Xu was hoping that Han would manage to handle the situation somehow. During the test, Han commanded the Locust Legion to attack, but as usual, the goblins used fireballs to counter the locusts. Han then ordered the self-exposed locusts to attack again. A splash damage occurred, and somehow, Han was able to eliminate 400 goblins. However, there were still over 9,000 goblins left. In the classroom, Qin Shuang and Xiaolong had already returned, having cleared their tests. Director Xu shared that Han seemed to be in trouble. Deep down, Director Xu was thinking that after all, locusts were inferior creatures, and even if they were well cultivated, they wouldn't make it to the top. Overall, the situation wasn't looking good. Han then ordered the explosive locusts to attack. With this, Han was able to eliminate 3,000 goblins. However, the remaining goblins still reached near the divine core. Seeing this, all the students grew tense, wondering if, no matter how powerful the heroic life form was, it could really kill 6,500 red goblins. Qin Shuang thought that Han was very crazy and that all the leftover goblins would destroy his divine core. Director Xu even contacted Han, telling him that if he couldn't hold out, he should just admit defeat. Director Xu told him there was no shame in losing and that she was sure he would rise again soon. Han responded that since he decided to change classes, he would stick to it. Even if he had to fight to the last breath, he would do it at all costs. Moreover, Han hadn't lost yet. Actually, Taijian was fighting the goblins, but he had taken a lot of damage during the fight. Despite this, everyone thought that Han was finished now. Seeing this, Mr. Liu was smiling and saying that was the last lesson he was going to teach Han, so he should learn it well. But suddenly, a student shouted for everyone to look at the screen as a dwarf army appeared. The dwarves started attacking the goblins, killing them one by one. Seeing this, the students wondered if these dwarves were from Zhang's family, the ones from before. They were impressed by Han's ability to turn the situation around. Finally, Han was able to defeat all the goblins and pass the test. Qin Shuang and Director Xu were impressed, while Mr. Liu was shocked by Han's unexpected win. After this, all the teachers started shouting, asking all 3 students to join them. Xiaolong decided that he would go wherever Qin Shuang chose to go, while Han asked Director Xu why his test had been so difficult. Director Xu responded that the difficulty level of each individual's test was determined collectively by all the class teachers of that grade. Han then told them that he would like to check out their votes. Hearing this, the teachers got tense, realizing they shouldn't have supported Mr. Liu. After reading the lists and the votes of everyone, Han found that 2 teachers had voted fairly in favor of him. He thanked those teachers and asked what they could offer him if he joined their class. Mr. Rana shared that he could provide Han with an army of no less than 10,000 dwarves. Mr. Tianwen shared that cultivating one's core family was the most important, and he had several resources on hand that were very useful for the cultivation of an insect core family. So if Han joined his class, Mr. Tianwen promised to help him complete the entire life transition of the locust species. After hearing both offers, Han decided to join Mr. Tianwen's class. Following him, Qin Shuang also decided to join Tianwen's class. Even Xiaolong agreed to join because of Qin Shuang. Hearing this, Mr. Tianwen was happy and thought to himself that this was what winning the Outstanding Teacher Award felt like. It was great for him, as more talented students were joining his class. Mr. Tianwen then gave a gift to all three of them. Han saw that it was a level 2 building card, Hive. It occupied 1 square kilometer of land and could hatch 1 million insectoids annually. Seeing it, Han was happy as it was tailor-made for him. He thought that after establishing the Hive in his divine realm, he could bless it with 2 level 1 relics, the Heart of Burst and the Lava Fire Crystal. The Hive would perfectly amplify the power of both relics onto the insect eggs incubated within it. In this case, he could obtain 1 million bursting locusts every year. Han thanked Mr. Tianwen, to which Mr. Tianwen responded that there was no need for them to thank him. He said that delivering better results was the best way to repay him. Director Xu then shared that today's test was simply a small trial, so there was no need to take it so hard. After 7 days, the school's comprehensive examination would be of paramount importance, as it would determine the allocation of resources among the classes in the future. The scene then shifted to some time later in Han's divine realm, where he was checking his army. Seeing this, Han thought that with this level of strength, participating in the comprehensive exam in 7 days would probably result in him getting the lowest scores among all the students. So Han realized he had increased the number of bursting locusts he had and strengthened the others. Suddenly, he noticed that the dwarves' names had changed, now becoming Red Forge Dwarves. Han, without wasting any time, directly went to see the dwarves. Upon seeing them, he realized that they had evolved into a naturally born elite life form, which meant he could use them for frequently restoring his core family. The scene then shifted to 4 days later, where Han finally had 7.3 billion locusts in number. He was praying for something good this time, as he was again going to use his life sacrifice ability. After sacrificing, Han was given 3 options to choose from again. This time, all 3 options were very amazing, and seeing them, Han got flustered, thinking that it was so difficult to choose. Han was now thinking that the law of gluttony could cause normal locusts to evolve into elites, but he didn't think he could take care of all of them. Meanwhile, the heroic token could help one advance from a transcendent life form into a heroic life form. Additionally, 1 divine point was equivalent to 100 trillion power of belief, which was equal to 1 million divine power. He knew that he definitely couldn't afford to support billions of elite life-form locusts for the time being, so he decided to use them on the nest first. So Han decided to start by cultivating 1 million voracious locusts annually, and for that, he chose option 1. The scene then shifted to 3 days later, where he was stunned to see the locust's self-evolution. He shockingly asked if it was a mega worm or a mega lizard. Finally, he announced that the evolutionary version of the locusts was the plus-size version of an explosive locust or destructive locust. The next day in class, Qin Shuang again approached Han, asking about his choice of becoming her slave. She thought that it was impossible for him to stand out among the many demigods with his current strength. She even told him that while she thought his cultivation of locusts was indeed impressive, they were still too weak. As for taming the dwarves, they were remarkable, but they were not his core family after all. Still, Han denied her offer and told her to wait and see if he could win or not. Qin Shuang shouted at Han, saying that he really pissed her off. Seeing all that, Xiaolong angrily thought that he would never let Han get Qin Shuang's attention someday. Mr. Tianwen then shared that the test was crucial for the allocation of class resources in the future. He added that there would be rewards such as relics, Divine Realm lands, core fragments, and clan legions in his hands, so as long as they were capable, they were free to take them. Mr. Tianwen then asked everyone to read the rules carefully. After reading, Han remarked that expulsion was harsh for those who failed, but the rewards for this type of assessment should be pretty good. Han excitedly got ready to pass the test again for the sake of the rewards. Soon the elimination round began. At the start, Han saw that they were facing bloody puppets. He was surprised that the first round was already this intense. Han ordered 50,000 bursting locusts to attack and self-detonate the magma. During the battle, he could smell the aroma of roasted meat and thought that he could feed the locusts with them. Han instructed the dwarves to go and collect the bodies. After 15 minutes, Han was happy that his locusts had good food and wondered how this could be considered a test, as it felt more like a free meal. On the outside, the teachers were tense as their students were getting eliminated. Some teachers even saw half of their class get eliminated. One teacher asked Director Gexu if she didn't think the test this time was even harder. Director Ixu shared that the principal, along with 3 vice principals, were leading the front line against the abyssal civilization to vie for dimensional dominance. There has to be a reason they chose blood puppets as the enemy in the elimination test. so they shouldn't take it lightly. By then, Mr. Tianwen was happy to see Han, who others viewed as a nightmare, becoming a foundation for strengthening his core family. This meant Han really had some skills. Even Mr. Tianwen was surprised to learn that the locusts could resist the toxins in the flesh of the blood puppets. Every teacher thought it was a new discovery that needed research. But Mr. Liu said it was just a stroke of luck, an accidental hit, because in terms of strength, Han's locusts were nothing special. To this, Mr. Tianwen responded that luck is also a part of strength, and he could see that the locusts Han bred were quite strong. He even noticed a transcendent life form among them. Mr. Liu argued that it was still just a locust and its overall power was comparable to that of ordinary life-form dwarves. In some aspects, it was even weaker than goblins. After this, both Mr. Liu and Mr. Tianwen discussed the topic further. In the end, Mr. Liu mentioned a student named Liu Mo in his class, whose core family is dwarves. He bet that Liu Mo's final score would be better than Han's. Mr. Liu asked Mr. Tianwen if he dared to take the bet. Mr. Tianwen agreed, saying there was nothing to fear. Mr. Liu then suggested they wager 5 divine points. Mr. Tianwen agreed, saying it was a deal. Deep down, Mr. Liu thought that this time Tianwen wouldn't get away with it, as Liu Mo was his nephew. Mr. Liu wondered if Tianwen would be willing to provide resources to Han, just as he did for his own nephew. After the elimination round was completed, 430 students finished it, and 300 students chose to take the ranking assessment. Reading this, Mr. Liu angrily asks why 300 students gave up on the exams, even calling them cowards. Other teachers urge him to let it go and focus on the students who passed. The ranking assessment begins, and in Level 1, skeleton soldiers emerge from the realm gate. Seeing this, Han smiles and wonders if the school is trying to embarrass him by making him fight skeleton soldiers. He then asks his locust babies to eat the skeleton soldiers. The scene shifts to 2 hours later, where the locusts finally manage to eat all the skeleton soldiers. When the second wave of skeleton soldiers arrives, Han sends the bursting locusts and magma locusts to fight them. Han even asks the red forged dwarves to pour hot slurry from the furnaces onto the ground, covering it in magma. Just like that, 7 waves of skeleton soldiers come and are defeated. Due to the heat, the skeleton soldiers die instantly as soon as they teleport through the portal. Seeing Han's ideas, all the teachers were amazed. But Mr. Liu, frustrated, asks what the big deal is, since it's just the 7th wave. He also points out that Liu Mo from his class has entered the 7th wave as well. Actually, in Liu Mo's realm, there were 13 level 1 arrow towers, 9 level 1 lightning towers, and 12 level 1 fireball towers. The teachers think that this child must have a wealthy family supporting him. Mr. Liu was smiling because he had given all the resources to Liu Mo, believing that Liu Mo would come first in the exam. A teacher then asked everyone to look at Qin Shuang's divine realm. When Mr. Liu saw it, he was shocked to notice that there were 100 lightning towers, 300,000 thunderfinchelites, and 100 Asian tree giants. Everyone starts talking about Qin Shuang, thinking that she is more suited to be first place in her grade. Mr. Liu, angered, thinks that Qin Shuang left his class because of Han. So Mr. Liu decided to make Han pay for it. After the 10th wave ended, the total number of remaining candidates was 18. When the 11th phase started, a creature appeared 35 steps outside the house. Everyone was surprised to see that it was a heroic life form, an A3, and a skeleton controller. The skeleton controller began collecting the bones of the dead skeletons. When the battle started, the skeleton controller killed 8 students within 3 minutes. At that moment, Mr. Liu tensely asked why the giant skeleton in Han's divine realm was so small. Mr. Liu shouted that something was wrong and that Han must be cheating. In reality, it showed that the giant skeleton in Han's divine realm was shaking uncontrollably. Mr. Tianwen responded to Mr. Liu, explaining that it was because Han's realm had burned most of the bones to ashes, leaving very few bones behind. Han asks Taijian to go and slash the enemies. With that, Han passes the 11th wave. Mr. Liu, angrily shouting, insists that Han is definitely cheating, claiming that Han must have known the test's contents before it started. Mr. Tianwen asks Mr. Liu for any evidence that Han is cheating. Mr. Liu responds that he will definitely raise the issue with the school, as everyone can clearly see that Han is acting strangely against the skeletons during the exam. Mr. Liu asks who would clean the field right after defeating the skeleton soldiers, unless of course Han already knew that those broken bones would increase the upcoming difficulty because of the skeleton controller. Mr. Tianwen asks Mr. Liu not to jump to conclusions so quickly. Mr. Liu, however, insists that Han is probably cheating, calling it a serious issue and urging the school to take action against him. Director Xu interrupts them and explains that the content of the test was set by the principal before it started. Even the teachers didn't know the test's content, so if Han knew it, that would mean the principal leaked it to him. Hearing this, Han tensely responds that maybe he was wrong, and that Han probably passed the test with luck. Even if Han wasn't cheating, his results are still suspicious. which feels unfair to the other students. In response, Director Xu asks Mr. Liu if he knows how ridiculous he sounds, pointing out that the Divine Realm has always been about survival of the fittest, not fairness. Director Xu adds that no matter how Han achieved the result, as long as he didn't cheat, he deserved it. He then asks Mr. Liu if it was fair for him to support his nephew Liu Mo. Director Xu continues, asking if it's fair that Qin Shuang's family provides tens of millions of divine power and support compared to other students. Hearing this, Mr. Tianwen is stunned and angrily shouts over Mr. Liu, "No wonder you were willing to bet so much." Mr. Tianwen then shares a saying, lifting a stone to smash one's own foot, explaining that Liu Mo's unexpected difficulty in passing the 11th wave is causing trouble for Mr. Liu. At that moment, Liu Mo conceded and withdrew from the test. Mr. Tianwen then announces that the bet result is clear and asks Mr. Liu to keep his word and give him 5 divine points. Mr. Liu asks Mr. Tianwen to keep the 5 divine points safe, as one day he would take everything back. The scene then shifts to 1 hour later, when the 13th wave has ended. Only 3 students remain in the test: Han, Qin Shuang, and Huang Fei. The teachers are excited, eager to see who will come first in the next round. In the 14th wave, Huang Fei conceded from the test. Similarly, in the 16th wave, Qin Shuang conceded. After that, Director Xu announced that Han is first. Han reaches the 20th wave, where he commands the bursting locusts to attack. Afterward, he tells Taijian to annihilate the remaining enemies. After 15 minutes, peace is restored in the Divine Realm. As the 21st wave begins, Han tensely wonders if something more challenging is about to come. When the portal opens, Han sees something huge coming out of it. As it fully appears, he realizes it's a woman and she looks like the queen of the skeletons. The teachers freak out seeing the next creature, as it is the Lord of Skeletons. Seeing the Lord, Han thinks this is as far as he could go. If he continues the challenge, it could kill him with a single finger. So Han conceded from the test. Hearing this, the Lord shockingly shouts, "What? No." She tries to stop herself, but she's being pulled back into the portal. As crackling sounds begin, Han wonders in confusion what's happening. He then exits the test and discovers that he has ranked 1 in the test. Even Mr. Tianwen got first place, while Mr. Liu ended up in 8th place. Seeing this, Mr. Liu became frustrated, thinking that he could have been ranked 1 if Qin Shuang and Xia Long were in his class. The other students were also surprised to see Han reaching the 20th wave. The scene then shifts to 1 hour later, where Han is presented with many options to redeem whatever he wants. Seeing this, the students became envious of Han. Han decided to think carefully before redeeming the coupons he had collected. Mr. Tianwen came from behind, offering to help Han choose. The scene then shifts to Han's Divine Realm, where a Divine Realm coupon was used to redeem a 20-acre jungle. A level 1 artifact coupon was also used, and a level 1 poisonous mist artifact was redeemed. The level 1 temple construction had been completed. Now Han was receiving a storm greatsword. At that moment, he thought that he could redeem only 1, but he needed 4 of them. Han then considered getting a hammer for the dwarves, but it was worth 99,999 divine points. He realized that he would have to wait for a red-forged dwarf to become a fire elemental heroic life form. The scene then shifts to 1 hour later at the school, where Mr. Tianwen asks everyone to applaud for the top 3 students and welcome them on stage to receive their rewards. Mr. Tianwen then shares that their class earned 100 points, so Han may choose any one of the items from their advanced resource vault. After seeing the options, Han decides to choose the Fountain of Life. The Fountain of Life consists of high life energy, which can nourish living beings and improve the surrounding environment. Seeing this, Mr. Tianwen thinks that it's a good choice. He realizes that Han is not only chasing after power, but also recognizing his weaknesses and using his strengths wisely. Mr. Tianwen believes that Han has a bright future ahead. The scene then shifts to some time later, where Xu approaches Han and asks him to sell the divinity he gained in the general examination. Xu tells Han that he would exchange 105 million divine power for the divinity. Han asks the reason for this offer, and Xu responds that there's no particular reason. It's simply enough for Han to buy a Locust Life exchange route and change his destiny. But Han disagrees. Xu then shares that his grandfather is preparing to be promoted to a true god and needs divinity. He offers that if Han sells him the divinity, he would not only receive the divine power, but also owe Han a favor. At that moment, Han thinks that 105 million divine power is a huge amount of currency. If he can obtain this amount of divine energy, he would be able to increase the number of locusts in his divine realm by tens of times. Han was about to accept the offer, but suddenly before that, a message from Qin Shuang arrived. In the message, Qin Shuang offers to pay 150 million divine power for the divinity he gained in the examination. Han asks her the reason for offering 50 million divine power extra. Qin Shuang responds that the current market price of divinity is 145 million divine power, but since there's no actual market for it, she's willing to offer more to secure the divinity. Reading this, Han realizes that Xuzhu is trying to rob him, so he turns back and angrily glares at Xuzhu. Xuzhu responds, telling Han not to get so cocky just because he got first place in the general examination. But after that, Han accepts Qin Shuang's offer. Upon receiving the 150 million divine power, he feels happy, realizing he's just gotten rich. 1 hour later, Han was in his divine realm, deciding that the level 1 temple should be built near the Red Goblin's site. He also planned to build the Fountain of Life near the desert. The Red Forged dwarfs were thanking Han for everything he had given them. Han then asks everyone to look, revealing that he had brought them a new artifact this time, the Inferno War Hammer. Han then gives a seat of supremacy to a Red Forged dwarf. From that moment, the dwarf shall be known as the God's Hammer. Han hopes that the dwarf will soon become a hero and wield the Inferno War Hammer. After that, Han leaves the area and wonders about an item called the Poison Bead, questioning its use and why Mr. Tianwen had asked him to pick it up. At the same time, Han receives a call from Mr. Tianwen. Tianwen shares that in today's exam regarding the question of who would rank higher between Han and Liu Mo, Mr. Liu, and he made a bet of 5 divine points. Since Han contributed to it, he decided to share some of it with Han. He offered Han 2 choices, the divinity card worth 150 million divine power or the magic Fotis egg. Mr. Tianwen explains that the magic Fotis egg is a spoil of war he obtained during his battle in the Outer Realm. It was laid by the heavenly demon Insect King and refined into a Fotis using a special secret method. He also explains that even though it's no longer alive, it can still produce 10 liters of magic Fotis every day. This was the only way he could help the locusts evolve to the next stage of life. Han considers it carefully. If the locusts mastered the path of life leap and transformed into heavenly demon insects, their potential would rival that of common life forms like goblins and dwarves. So Han decided to choose the magic Fotis egg. Mr. Tianwen then explained that the compatibility between the heavenly demon insect and the poison attribute is very high. He suggested that Han could embed the level 1 holy item, Poisonous Mist Bead, into its core for absolutely impressive results. Han then asked Mr. Tianwen if he has a way to supply a large amount of meat. He explains that the quality doesn't matter, as the meat sold in the malls is too expensive. Mr. Tianwen responds that the principal has recently been raiding the demon abyss, so there should be a large number of flesh and blood puppet corpses available. He offers to inquire about them for Han. Han thanks Mr. Tianwen for his help. Afterward, he starts thinking about where to place the Fotis egg. He decides that finding a reliable food source as quickly as possible is his top priority. He decided to place the Fotis egg under an ancient tree, believing it would help produce magic Fotis essence more quickly. Once the locusts consumed it, they would surely evolve. The scene shifts 2 days later, where Han notices that some of the locusts have already eaten the magic Fotis egg. He eagerly anticipates what kind of creature the cocoon will transform into. Just as Han was wondering how long it would take, the cocoon suddenly burst open and a creature emerged. Han saw that it was a heavenly demon insect, though an ordinary one. Han thinks to himself that even though it's an ordinary creature, it's still 100 times stronger than the locust. However, there is no breeding information available, so every heavenly demon insect must be assimilated by the magic Fotis essence. After calculating, Han realizes that he can obtain 200,000 demonic insects every day. Suddenly, he notices that the heavenly demon insects are growing bigger and maturing quickly. At this rate, it won't take long for them to be promoted to elite life forms. Han then orders the level 1 holy item, Poison Mist Bead, to be loaded into the divine core. Afterward, the insect evolves into an elite life form, the poisonous mist insect, Ox. The scene shifts to another location, where the principal is surprised to see the skeletons in his divine realm. The principal was wondering what to do about all the broken bones and the bodies of the flesh and blood demons. While he was thinking of a solution, he received a call from Mr. Tianwen. When he answered, Tianwen asked if the principal could provide the body of the flesh and blood demon puppet, as he had a student who wanted to buy it. The principal, confused, asked Mr. Tianwen what his students would want with flesh and blood demon puppets. Mr. Tianwen responded that the student planned to use it to raise his core familiars, as the student's core family consisted of locusts, which showed no adverse reaction after eating the corpses of the flesh and blood puppets during the elimination test. The principal asked if it wasn't the genius student who fought the demigod a few days ago. After hearing this, the principal agreed and handed over a card containing millions of flesh and blood puppets. The next day, Mr. Tianwen went to the principal again to tell him that the student asked if he could have a permanent supply. The principal was stunned to hear that everything had ended in 1 day, and the students still wanted a permanent supply. Mr. Tianwen also agreed that it was a bit much. Still, the principal agreed, but mentioned that they couldn't give away those meats for free if they had to supply them long-term. So the principal made an offer. Han could buy 100 flesh and blood demon puppets for 10,000 divine power. 5 minutes later, Mr. Tianwen returned and shared that the student Han agreed to the offer and would start with 1,000,000 divine power. A few days later, the scene shifted to Han, who had grown many elite-form insects. He decided to sacrifice them for something else. Upon sacrificing, he received 3 options to choose from. Seeing the options, Han suggested considering the 12 billion elite life-form locusts in exchange. The 5 giant warriors from option 1 were extraordinary life forms known for their massive size and destructive power. But Han quickly decided to calm down and first look at the other options as well. After reviewing them all, he finally chose option 3, the decomposition system. The decomposition system could break down matter and extract energy crystals. These energy crystals were said to be the food for the familiars of the magician's side, and they were highly expensive. After receiving the machine, Han decided to try with some iron ore first. 5 hours later, he obtained 3 iron crystals from the machine. Han explained that the iron crystal could be used as food for certain special races, as well as for forging materials, and they sold for 5 points of divine power each. He was happy, thinking that this could be a long-term way to make a fortune. Suddenly, Han heard a voice saying they were attacked by the undead while mining. The leader of the Godhammer clan was fighting against the undead and was hoping that the god would bestow divine grace to rescue the red goblin dwarves. When Han looked with his eyes, he saw an undead figure and thought it looked a bit like the skeleton lord. He considered inquiring about it, but the system denied the request, as the skeleton was not his follower. Han called Taijian to come and meet the challenge. Taijian arrived and slashed the undead, but the undead reverted to its original form, though it was slightly smaller. Han then asked the undead to submit to him, worship him, and they would be born again. However, the undead tried to attack Han. Han calmly told them that if the divine realm remained intact, his divine form would last forever. Han angrily ordered Taijian and the leader of the Godhammer clan to beat the undead until it surrendered. 3 days later, the undead finally decided to submit to Han. Han smiled, knowing that he could now check the information. In the next scene, Mr. Tianwen asked the student if they were ready for a new challenge, as this test would truly widen the gap between them. It might even have an impact on which colleges they would be accepted into in the future. At that moment, Han remembered that his grandpa's dying wish was for him to go to Imperial College and search for his missing parents in the Sea of Chaos. Mr. Tianwen shared that all the students would be transported to the Demon Abyss C793,826 plane next. The specific exam details would be sent to everyone's email upon arrival, and the students would have 1 hour to prepare. The students began discussing that there was a great chance the creatures would get corrupted by the aura and become senseless demonized beings. They believed that only demons and undead would be able to survive in such an environment. Hearing this, Han felt a surge of excitement and wondered if this situation was meant for him. He hoped it would be an opportunity for him to prove himself and feel proud once again. The scene then shifted to Xiaolong, who received a call from Mr. Liu. Xiaolong asked what he could do. Mr. Liu explained that he needed his help to get rid of someone. Xiaolong understood that Mr. Liu was referring to Han, so he reassured him not to worry, promising he would take care of Han. Mr. Liu then handed Xiaolong a demonic dragon card to assist him during the exams. Seeing the card, Xiaolong became excited, knowing that the race was as powerful as the heroic life forms. When the test began, Han started reading the test requirements. After reading the requirements, Han was given an option to choose one of his familiars to appear as. He thought that the Skeleton Lord's incarnation, being an undead, would be immune to the demonic aura of the Demon Abyss. Deciding to bet on it, he chose the Skeleton Lord. The moment Han chose the Skeleton Lord, he transformed to resemble the Undead Lord. He summoned 100 locusts, but all of them became senseless under the demonic aura. Now he was left with only 3 elite form insects. Next, Han spotted the bone demon fruit and ordered his insects to pick it from the tree for him. Suddenly, enemy creatures began approaching, ready to attack. Han thought it was the perfect time to test the Skeleton Lord's attack and defense abilities. In just 10 minutes, he easily defeated all the creatures that came to attack. He then thought that after all the hard work, the task of collecting bone demon fruits only provided 20 assessment points. However, the 100-point task required defeating a demigod, which seemed impossible for him to accomplish. Then, realizing quantity was key, Han ordered the insects to collect the bone demon fruits for him. In one day, they gathered all the fruits, but he realized that the examination points could only be exchanged once. Still, Han had a plan. He messaged in the group offering to buy or trade 100 bone demon fruits for the mission 49 points. Some students even offered divine powers and divine points in return. However, Mr. Tianwen intervened, sharing that they could only trade with things they had obtained on the plane, issuing a first warning. Upon receiving all 3 warnings, the students would be disqualified from the test. Han, however, was happy, thinking to himself that he was a business genius as he had plans for everything. The scene shifted to Xiaolong, who was smiling and murmuring that he had been worried about how to find Han. However, now that Han had dared to reveal his position, Xiaolong was eager to see how Han would handle things this time. The scene showed Xiaolong now transformed into his dragon form, surrounded by a large pack of wolves. Han noticed that he had dropped to 18th position. He thought to himself that his familiars were too weak, making it difficult to earn points. If he didn't take on some advanced quests, he would be overtaken in no time. The scene shifted 1 hour later when a group of skeletons appeared behind Han and began roaring on seeing him. At that moment, Han wondered if his skeleton lord incarnation would be able to control them. As Han got closer to the skeletons, they became alerted and turned to face him. Han asked if they recognized him. To his surprise, all the skeletons bowed down in front of him. Han identified them as skeleton soldiers and he was taken aback. He thought to himself, what the heck? How can this be possible? More than a dozen skeleton soldiers, true believers, for no reason at all. Han asked the skeletons to take him on a patrol of their camp. 1 hour later, when they reached the camp, Han was amazed to see a skeleton knight in the army bowing down in front of him. The skeleton knight shared that he had once been a member of the first skeleton legion during a confrontation with a flesh and blood demon puppet. He explained that the team he led had gotten separated from the larger army. He had no choice but to station in the plain, as they had to deal with a constant invasion of corrupted corpse zombies and flesh puppets. The skeleton army soldiers were decreasing in number every day due to the ongoing battles. The skeleton knight explained that he had sent skeleton soldiers to search for bone demon fruits to improve their strength. Han thought to himself that since they were now his troops, he needed to make them stronger. The next day, Han saw that his rank had dropped to 178. Realizing it was time to power up, Han told the skeleton knight that he would grant him the bone crystals and leave the rest of the equipment to him. Just 10 minutes later, the skeletons became stronger. Han told them that their target was the flesh and blood demon puppet's lair and that they should move out. Upon reaching the lair, Han thought to himself that the mission stated there were 8,000 to 10,000 flesh and blood demon puppets inside. With a force of only 1,000 skeletons, a head-on battle would never work. Han decided to have the skeletons sneak into the cave. As he entered, many flesh and blood demon puppets rushed to attack him. But to their shock, other skeletons suddenly appeared out of nowhere, surrounding them. The skeletons easily killed the puppets. Han explained that the flesh and blood demon puppets that were slain could be transformed into skeletons, which was a very unique way of adding new members to their army. In just 1 hour, the skeleton army had grown to 7,000. With only 3,000 flesh and blood demon puppets left, Han commanded the entire army to charge in and kill everyone. 3 hours later, the battle ended and the skeleton knight approached Han with a crystal. After submitting it, Han received 60 points, which raised his rank to 118. The scene shifted to Xiaolong, who was searching for Han Wu. Suddenly, he saw that Han had gained 60 points, meaning he had defeated the puppets, which exceeded Xiaolong's expectations. When Xiaolong reached near Han, he was surprised to see that Han had secretly raised a skeleton clan to improve his grades in the exam. But Xiaolong commanded his hellhounds to attack Han and his army. As the hellhounds began roaring, Han turned around to see them approaching. When the hellhounds came close to attack Han, the skeletons immediately stepped in the way to protect him, forming a shield around him. Seeing this, Xiaolong thought to himself that it was only the second day of Han's arrival in the Demon Abyss realm, and yet he had already gathered so many troops. If Han was given a few more days, no one would be able to stop him. Xiaolong decided that he needed to kill Han now. Xiaolong transformed into his dragon form, and the skeleton knight stood tall in front of him. Han, sensing the tension, asked Xiaolong, "We have no grievances, so why are you attacking my familiars?" Xiaolong shouted that he just didn't like Han, and without waiting, he launched an attack. Han disappeared from the spot after receiving the attack, leading Xiaolong to think that Han had died. Believing it wasn't necessary to kill the skeletons, he left. In the next scene, Han was alive and said to himself that it was a good thing the skeleton lord's incarnation could resurrect. He then ordered the skeletons not to just stand there, but to summon all their troops and get out of sight as quickly as possible. Han decided that the next time he crossed paths with Xiaolong, it would be Xiaolong's death time. On the other side, Xiaolong was surprised to see that Han's name wasn't on the dropout lists. To his shock, Xiaolong saw that Han was still in 163rd rank. Realizing that Han had faked his death, he rushed towards the place where he had attacked Han, thinking that this time he would kill everyone, even if it was a waste of his time. When Xiaolong reached the location, there was no sign of Han or his skeletons. Frustrated, he commanded his hellhounds to go and search for them, ordering that not a single skeleton be allowed to escape within a 100-mile radius. On the other side, Han gave the bone crystals to the skeleton soldiers, but he still needed more to further strengthen them. After their evolution with the help of the bone crystals, Han knew they would become even more powerful. Han thought that it still wasn't enough, as he needed more to be recognized by the Imperial College. He then checked the missions and found one to clear the Ghoul Demon tribe, realizing that completing this task could be the breakthrough he needed. Han decided to attack the Ghoul Demon tribe, as it was worth 80 examination points, meaning it must be over 1,000,000 in size. He saw this as an opportunity to use the Ghoul Demons to mass-produce more skeleton soldiers, strengthening his army even further. Han ordered the skeletons to move out, with their next target being the Ghoul Demon tribe. The scene then shifted to 2 months later in the school meeting room, where the teachers were engaged in a discussion. The teachers discussed that Kwang Fei was in the #1 spot, while Liu Mo held the 2nd position. One teacher then asked Mr. Tanwen about Han Wu, wondering why Han wasn't at the top of the list. Mr. Liu responded that Han had secured 1st place in the general examination by relying on small tricks, but a certain blind teacher had mistakenly treated Han as a treasure. Mr. Tanwen asked Mr. Liu to show some moral character as a teacher. In response, Mr. Liu asked if he was wrong, pointing out that Han Wu was a loser, and no matter how many resources he was given, he would still be a loser. Mr. Tanwen angrily asked Mr. Liu if he was interested in making another bet, as Han would once again come out as the student who would win the championship this time. Mr. Liu asked what Mr. Tanwen wanted to bet. Mr. Tanwen responded that he would bet 10 points of divinity. Mr. Liu then shared that he didn't have the divine points, but he did have a divine title, so he would bet with the divine title instead. Mr. Liu bet with level 3 divine healing. Mr. Tianwen responded that Han Wu had already started raiding a mission worth 80 examination points and was on the verge of success. Mr. Tianwen believes that once it's done, top universities will notice it. This means that even if Han doesn't get a good grade in the end, it's still worth showing his face in front of them. The scene then moved to the Demon Abyss Plain, specifically the Ghoul Demon Camp. There were once millions of demons, but now fewer than 100,000 remain. Han believes his strategy was spot on, and with nearly 900,000 skeletons now under his command, the time has come. He orders the skeletons to charge, and they begin attacking the Ghoul Demon clan. Han asks them why they didn't surrender, but they continue to fight. 20 minutes later, he finally wins. Afterward, the skeletons begin to empower the corpses of the fallen Ghoul clan members. From one of the corpses, a Ghoul clan member transforms into a transcendent undead called a Skeleton Reviver. Han is stunned to see that the Skeleton Reviver is stronger than the Skeleton Knight. Hearing the roar of the Skeleton Reviver, Han feels excited, thinking that with it, his army won't get injured. Just then, a Skeleton Knight approaches Han and informs him that he has found a big loot. When Han searched the loot, he discovered it was a fireball baguette. In reality, it's the source of immolation triggering life evolution. Han decided to try it on the locusts. Now Han felt confident in his army, and with such a strong force, he no longer feared Xiao Long. He reached rank 401 and saw that his next mission was to test the Knave race of the Demon at Abyss for 70 points. Han tells his team to move out toward the Knave race. The scene then shifts to 3 days later, where it's shown that by completing tasks worth 80 and 70 points consecutively, Han Wu has reached rank 4. Seeing this, a teacher praises Han in front of Mr. Tanwen. However, Mr. Liu interrupts, questioning what's so special about it since Han Wu is still not #1. Suddenly, they all heard an announcement that Han had received interview offers from 2 top universities, Berserk College and Dragon College. Meanwhile, Kingshin mentioned that Han did need to take the entrance exam. As long as Han agreed, he could join them directly. Seeing this, Mr. Liu shouts and asks Director Xu why she had only informed them about Han's invitation and not the others. Director Xu responds that there are currently no university invitations for the other students. Mr. Liu tense shouts, asking how that's possible, considering Han is in 4th place, and there are 3 students ahead of him. Director Xu explains that the university invitations are based on a total of 3,000 examination points and the completion of at least one task with 80 or more examination points. And only Han had achieved this. At that time, Qin Shuang also met the criteria and was invited by the first-class university, Berserkers. Mr. Liu thinks that as long as Han doesn't come in first, he will win the bet. Mr. Liu sees that Mr. Tanwen's class test will be over after 3 tasks, so he urges Xiao Long to do his best to finish the mission and not let Han beat him to it. Xiao Long responds that he understands and will try to score 90 exam points before Han. The scene then shifts to Han, who is checking the rank list. Han sees that he's now ranked 3rd with 3,480 total exam points, just 130 points short of 1st place. To reach the top, he needs to complete at least 2 missions, but all of them are difficult to handle. But with 2 million skeleton soldiers, 2 heroic life forms, and 190 extraordinary life forms, Han decides to go and eliminate the Bull Demon tribe first. The scene shifts to the Bull Demon tribe, where Xiao Long and Xiao Yang are fighting side by side against the Bull Demon tribe members. Xu Yang shouts, urging Xiaolong to do better if he doesn't want Han to come first. Xiaolong responds, asking if Xu Yang wants Han to come first, then why did he team up with him in the first place? They continue fighting, but after an hour, they are unable to keep up the battle. Xiaolong tells Xu Yang that they should retreat or they will lose everything they've gained. Xu Yang agrees with Xiaolong and, moreover, thinks that if they can't handle it together, then how is Han supposed to do it? But Xu Yang is stunned when suddenly, out of nowhere, he sees a whole army of skeletons. He shouts tensely, asking, "What are those things?" Xu Yang tensely asks, "What an unexpected calamity of undead is this?" as the bull demon tribe and the skeletons begin fighting each other. Xu Yang shouts that there are a lot of skeletons, but they're not very strong, so they should leave the area. Han laughs and says, "If you want to leave, it's not going to be that easy." Han shouts and orders the bone controller to attack. The skeleton retriever also begins retrieving skeletons from the fallen lizard men. Seeing this, Xu Yang shockingly asks, "How are the dead lizard men turning into skeleton soldiers again?" Confused about how to fight them, Xu Yang hesitates. At that moment, Xiaolong shouts, telling Xu Yang to run out of the area and forget about the familiars. But the bone skeletons stand in front of them, blocking their way and declaring that they are not allowed to move. Xiaolong asks, "What do you want?" At that moment, Han steps out from behind and greets, "Hello, Xiaolong and Xu Yang." Seeing Han, Xiaolong shockingly asks, "Aren't your core familiars locusts?" Han responds that, as a courtesy, he would send Xiaolong on his way. Just as he says this, the bone controller stomps on Xiaolong, and he is wiped out instantly. Afterward, Xu Yang, tense and anxious, says that there's no conflict between them. He offers to apologize for the misunderstanding, but warns Han that if he kills him, it wouldn't benefit Han in any way. Han responds that it doesn't seem to do any good to let him go either. Xu Yang starts crying and shouts that he will give Han half of everything he has in this realm, pleading for Han to let him live. Han agrees to the deal and tells Xu Yang to run away. The scene then shifts to 5 hours later, where the demon tribe clan has surrendered to Han and is ready to submit to him. After this, Han is now only 40 points behind rank 1, so he considers choosing one more mission that would be most suitable to earn the points. But to his surprise, within a few seconds, it shows that only one mission is left. Upon checking, Han sees that Qin Shuang has completed the challenge and reached 2nd rank. Now Han only has the option to kill the Dark Frog demigod to secure the 1st rank. Despite the high difficulty of the task, Han knows that to get the attention of the top universities, he needs to secure the top position. So he orders his entire force that their next target is the Dark Frog's lair. Now all 11 classes have completed their exams and only Mr. Tianwen has 3 students left from his class. Seeing that Qin Shuang, Han, and Xu Yang are the only ones remaining in the exam area, Mr. Tianwen asks what they are doing. Mr. Liu responds that it's just a show, as the only task left is to kill the demigod. He asks if they dare to challenge it, because if they fail, they would lose everything. Moreover, that was a task that no one in the 11 classes had attempted, and no one had ever succeeded in it in history. Mr. Tianwen responds that Mr. Liu is right, and that Han and Qin Shuang are currently on a mission to kill the frogman demigod. Mr. Tianwen says, let's wait and see what they're going to do, as he has full confidence and trust in his students. The scene then shifts to the frog demigod's area, where Qin Shuang is engaged in battle with the demigod. Qin Shuang orders for Thunderbirds to attack, causing many of the frog demigod tribe members to be killed. Enraged, the frog demigod emerges and activates its protective shield. The demigod threatens to curse her for destroying his tribe and killing his people, swearing that she will die a horrible death. Hearing this, Qin Shuang grows tense, thinking that it's not good. After being attacked, Qin Shuang uses her purification of the divine tree. Once purified, she follows up with a lightning strike. Angrily, she commands all the birds to attack together, and to her relief, the shield finally breaks. The frog demigod then orders the mountain-swallowing demon frog to emerge. Seeing the massive creature, Qin Shuang is left stunned. Before she could react, the mountain-swallowing demon frog captures Qin Shuang and keeps her inside his mouth. She tries to attack with her lightning strike, but quickly realizes that the frog is too large for the attack to have any effect. Realizing that if this continues, she's in serious trouble, Qin Shuang starts to panic. Suddenly, to her surprise, Qin Shuang receives a call from Han. Confused, she wonders why Han is calling her at a time like this, especially when she's in such an embarrassing state. When she picks up the call, Han asks, "Where are you?" The interior looks pretty neat. Qin Shuang realizes he's making fun of her, but decides not to react to it. Han then asks her why they didn't cooperate, warning that in 10 minutes, all of her Thunderbirds will be killed. She shockingly asks, "What?" But soon after, she agrees to cooperate. Before proceeding, Qin Shuang sets a demand. If they win, she wants the body of the Dark Frog demigod, and Han can have the rest. Han agrees and asks her to give the oracle to her birds so they can pick up his elite troops. Hearing this, Qin Shuang shockingly asks how Han could fight when he couldn't even get through that place. Qin Shuang orders the Thunderbirds, telling them that their target is the swamp. Within just a few seconds, the Thunderbirds reach Han, and he is stunned by their speed. Han asks the Thunderbirds to pick them up and take them to the fighting area. Once they arrive, he orders the Thunderbirds and skeletons to attack. However, the frogs easily overpower them. Han, confused, thinks to himself that skeleton soldiers alone are really useless in a fight like this. Just a single touch can scatter them. But at least the amount of broken bones has piled up. Han calls out to the bone controller, who begins attacking the frogs. However, even with that, it isn't enough. So Han orders the bone reviver and the bull demon shaman to join the fight. After killing some of the frogs, the bone controller begins taking out bones from the dead corpses of the frogs. Seeing all the attacks, the frog demigod says that it looks like he underestimated them. Realizing it's time to get serious, the frog demigod casts his spell, draining the life from all the skeleton soldiers. Han, now tense, wonders what he's going to do next. Suddenly, Han hears the voices of Tai Jian and the Red Forge dwarves, saying that they are willing to fight. To his surprise, a new day begins, and now he is able to summon more of his familiars. Han summons Tai Jian and the Red Forge dwarves, and they begin fighting the frog demigod. Suddenly, Han hears the voices of the locusts, telling him that they are ready to be sacrificed. When Han sacrifices the billions of locusts, he receives a reward in return. Seeing the reward, Han is pleased, as it is exactly what he needed. Han receives the Holy Flame of Hope, a special item that dispels darkness, sweeps away negativity, and empowers familiars with positive energy. Without hesitation, Han uses the item to dispel the darkness. As the item's effect takes hold, the frogs grow tense, giving Han the perfect opportunity to strike. Now it's time for him to fight back. The frog demigod is stunned, wondering how it's possible for a divine item to dispel his dark arts. He thinks to himself, this is impossible. As Han continues attacking with his army, he suddenly spots the mountain-swallowing demon frog and realizes that Qin Shuang has been swallowed by it. Han orders the entire army to go after the mountain-swallowing demon frog. Everyone rushes toward the frog and begins attacking. As a result of the attack, the frog loosens its grip on Qin Shuang, allowing her to easily free herself. After freeing herself, Qin Shuang begins gathering her full power and launches a powerful attack on the mountain-swallowing demon frog. Meanwhile, the entire Han army continues to attack the frog demon clan members. As the frog demigod attempts to escape, Qin Shuang strikes first, attacking him with her lightning strike before Han can make a move. After they win, Qin Shuang keeps her promise, stating that she only wants the body of the frog demigod, and the rest belongs to Han. The frog demigod pleads with Han, offering everything he has in exchange for his life. Han responds that once the frog demigod dies, everything will always belong to him. Half an hour later, the scene shifts to Han and Qin Shuang standing in front of a large pile of loot. Qin Shuang tells Han that, according to their agreement, all the items now belong to him. Han asks again if she's sure she doesn't want anything. Qin Shuang responds with a firm yes, reminding him that they made a deal. Han then picks up a crown and places it on her head, telling her to consider it as payment for her help. She got happy and replied that she would keep it. Then Mr. Tanwen told Han that the heads of universities and admission officers from top colleges wanted to meet him, so Han had to hurry back. After a while, Mr. Tanwen told both of them to follow him and not say anything foolish, since those professors were all of the true God realm. As Han entered the room, he wondered if all the admission officers could see his unique ability of life sacrifices with their true God talents. Principal Karen of the Imperial College began by talking about Qin Shuang. He praised her, saying she was about to create a Lord life form, and asked how much divinity she possessed. Hearing this, an official teacher was shocked, thinking that they had been demigods for years, yet none of them had ever created a Lord life form. Qin Shuang then revealed that she had 4 divinity points. Hearing this, Han was surprised and thought that she had secretly gathered 4 divinity points. He realized that at least 450 million divine power had been invested, making her incredibly wealthy, which was shocking. Karen shared that Qin Shuang's qualifications fully met the admission requirements of all 3 universities. He added that after she completed the cultivation of her Lord life form, she could apply to any of the universities. Qin Shuang thanked Karen for the opportunity. Next, when Karen started talking about Han, his facial expression changed drastically. Karen asked Han if his divine realm familiar was locusts, to which Han replied yes. Karen then asked if Han's divine points were only 1, and Han again said yes. Hearing this, Karen marked a cross on Han's report card. Karen then asked Han how he obtained the Jianfeng clan hero and the weakened MD version of the Skeleton Lord incarnation in his divine realm, which Han had shown during the exam. Hearing the question, Han realized that the university officials hadn't been able to see his ability, so he thought it wasn't necessary to share it with them. Han asked the officials if he could skip answering the question. Karen apologized to Han, saying that while Han was already excellent, he still didn't meet the university requirements in some areas. Karen told Han that if he still wanted to apply for the university, he would have to take the entrance exam. Director Xu then added that it was a shame the 3 admissions teachers couldn't see Han's true excellence. Han responded that he understood and he would work hard to show them in the entrance examination. Karen wished Han good luck. Mr. Tianwen came from behind and told Han that top universities are known for their high standards, and it's not unusual for them to be difficult to get into. Several other universities offered to invite Han to become their reserve student if he wanted. Han responded that it wasn't necessary as he only wanted to attend Imperial University. As Han stepped out of the room, Qin Shuang began saying that once she had cultivated a Lord-life form, she would go to one of the top universities as a reserve student, where the resources would be better suited to her growth. She then asked if he wanted to go to Imperial University. Han responded with a yes, saying he would definitely go to Imperial University. Deep down, he knew that to find his lost parents in the Chaos Star Sea, he had to enter Imperial University. Qin Shuang responded with an okay, saying she would also choose Imperial University. However, by the time Han arrived, she would be at a higher level, so he wouldn't be her opponent. She added that it wouldn't be too late for him to become her slave. Han responded that he had earned a lot of money on his own, so there was no need to be her slave. He added that he still needed to sort out today's harvest. With that, he said goodbye to her and left. At that moment, Qin Shuang felt flustered, thinking that he was really silly, but still cute with that little skeleton of his. The scene then shifted to Han's realm, where Han was absorbing the divinity card. Han checked his familiars, noting that he now had the Taijian, Red Forge, Dwarves Clan, Skeleton Clan, Whole Demon Clan, Divine Realm items, and special items, including the Fountain of Life. At that moment, Han thought that with this much money for now, he could upgrade his familiars and equipment to increase their combat power. But the most important thing was to create a life leap path for the locusts. First, Ham used the source of immolation, from which many locusts emerged. Ham shared that the locusts now had increased resistance. The locusts also had greater tenacity and a significant increase in resistance to negative effects. It was an evolution in the direction of defense, so Han decided to call them immolated insects. Next, Ham used the Dark Frog's heart to build the path for the Dark Spell. With this, the locusts could fly stealthily and cause various negative effects on enemies. They were now on the assassination path, so Han decided to call them Dark Spell insects. Suddenly, Han received a message from the temple informing him that the Red Forge dwarves had accidentally dropped the holy staff he had given them into the decomposing machine. They were asking for his forgiveness. Hearing this, Han quickly ran towards the temple to check. However, when he arrived, he became tense upon seeing the Red Forge dwarves crying and trembling, begging for forgiveness. Seeing the scene, Han tensed up but calmly told them to remember the mistake and work more seriously in the future. Afterward, Han checked the items he received in return from the machine. He saw that he had received 2 fire crystals, 1 golden crystal, and a source of holy artifacts, which could repair holy items. Han wondered if his law of gluttony could be repaired with it. After mixing the items, Han's law of gluttony was repaired, but its power had decreased. Previously, it was 1,000 times stronger, but now it was lower. He wondered if, with enough holy sources, he would be able to fully restore the law of gluttony. Han realized that the source of holy artifacts needed to be broken down from holy items, and he wondered how he would acquire so many holy items. To find out, he checked online sites to see what people were saying about it. After reading through the information, Han interpreted that to repair a weapon that was both divine and holy, the source of the holy relic might be able to do the trick. At that time, Han sent a message online offering his help. He said that if anyone needed assistance, they could contact him privately. The moment Han sent the message online, he received a call from someone without wasting a second. The person asked Han if he could really help restore their weapon. Han asked the person to trust him and try again by sending some holy items. However, the person replied that they had downloaded the Divine Anti-Fraud Center app, so they warned Han not to try to fool him. The person then asked Han what level of relics he needed, saying he could provide them if they were level 4 or below. However, if the relics were above level 4, Han would have to wait. Hearing about level 4, Han realized that the person was filthy rich. However, he still responded that level 1 would be fine. The moment Han said this, he received a parcel. Han was surprised and wondered just how urgent this person needed his weapon. After looking at the size of the box, he thought it must contain more than 100 holy items. Han briefly wondered if he should block the person and run away. But soon he remembered the Divine Anti-Fraud Center and thought it sounded very intimidating, so he decided to proceed with caution. Han poured all the holy items into the decomposing machine. After 2 hours, he received 109 sources of holy items. He decided to give 100 of them to the person and keep the remaining ones for himself. After receiving the items, the person was filled with happiness and thanked Han, calling him a god. He introduced himself as Yuan Zhang. Han welcomed Yumon and shared that he liked helping others. The scene shifted to Mr. Tianwen, who was busy with something. At that moment, he remembered the words of Mr. Liu. He had given him the level 3 divine healing item. Mr. Liu had told him to remember that the road to God's life was long, so he should just wait and see. Suddenly, Mr. Tianwen received a call from Han. He picked it up and asked if Han needed something. Han asked if Mr. Tianwen knew how to get the resources to upgrade to the core level of the divine realm. Mr. Tianwen explained that scarce resources like divine orders, divinity, core fragments, and others could not be sold online at all. As soon as they were listed on the market, big companies would buy them up, leaving no chance for anyone else. Still, Mr. Tianwen told Han that if he helped him win against Mr. Liu, he would give Han his collection. Hearing this, Han became happy and thanked Mr. Tianwen for the offer. At that moment, Mr. Tianwen shared that there was another way. He explained that he had also encountered good holy items that couldn't be loaded because of the low level of the core of the divine realm. He then shared that a senior, with whom he had a good relationship, had taken him to a plane called the Bloody Arena to participate in a competition. Mr. Tianwen explained that the winner of each competition would receive core fragments of the divine realm as a reward provided by the organizer. He warned Han, however, that if he were to fight against opponents from different civilizations, it might cause significant losses to Han's familiars. Mr. Tianwen asked if Han could accept this kind of competition. Han thought about it, realizing that he had recently spent a lot of money nurturing his familiars and was looking for an opportunity to test their strength. Han responded with no problem, saying that he lacked everything except familiars. The scene then shifted to the next day at the Bloody Arena, where Han was excited to see the place. Mr. Tianwen gave Han a mask, telling him that it could block the detection of demigods and below. He reminded Han that since this was a foreign land, they should be careful. At the entrance, the receptionist asked Han to fill out the registration form first. Mr. Tianwen explained that the competition was divided into 3 levels: the competition for divine creatures, the competition for demigods, and the competition for true gods. Mr. Tianwen continued, explaining that unless competitors specifically requested it, cross-level competition generally would not occur. He also mentioned that there was no limit to the number of familiars allowed in the competition. The moment Han completed his registration for the fight, an opponent was found, and he was told to prepare himself for battle. Within a minute, he was teleported to the battle area. Han's opponent then said that he couldn't see through Han's information, but he could tell that Han was a newbie. The man reassured Han, saying not to worry as Uncle Rat took good care of the newcomers, so the match would end soon. Even the audience was tense, thinking that the newcomer was going to lose easily. They felt sorry for him, knowing that his fight was against the cruel Mr. Rat. At that moment, Han thought that his first opponent, Mr. Rat, seemed to have a bad reputation as a brutal guy. Shortly after, Han received a notification asking him to release his familiars as the battle would begin in 3 minutes. Mr. Rat took out his familiars and told Han that he was sure Han had never seen so many familiars before. He added that if Han was scared, he could give up his resistance, and in return, Mr. Rat would let him go after killing all of Han's familiars. Han laughed and called out his locusts, asking if Mr. Rat was really comparing quantity with him. Mr. Rat also started laughing, saying that he would keep his word and end the competition soon. With that, the competition began. Mr. Rat commanded his rat familiars to gear up and shoot at Han. In response, Han shouted for his immolated insects to form a shield. Mr. Rat, undeterred, ordered his rat familiars to keep shooting without stopping. Han commanded his dark insects to sneak attack from behind. The dark insects moved quietly, stunning all the rats. Once the rats were stunned, Han ordered his demonic insects to finish them off. In just a few minutes, Han easily defeated the rats. At that moment, Han's survival rate was nearly 100%, while the rat clan's survival rate was only 23%. Mr. Rat was shouting, claiming that it was impossible. Despite his disbelief, Mr. Rat had to accept his defeat and surrender. After winning, Han received a divine core fragment and was transported back to the waiting area. Mr. Tianwen praised Han, saying he did a great job and even stopped him from removing his mask. He then asked if Han was interested in going further, as winning again would earn him 10% more divine core fragments. Hearing Mr. Tianwen's offer, Han decided to continue, as his familiars were in need of training anyway. The scene then shifted to 32 days later, where Han had earned a lot of divine core fragments after achieving 89 consecutive victories. Han realized that he could now upgrade his divine core to level 7. He thought to himself that it was getting harder and harder to get stronger, as the amount of fragments needed to reach level 8 was more than the combined amount for the previous levels. At that moment, Mr. Tianwen approached Han and told him that with his current familiars, Han could even challenge demigods. Han then asked if challenging a demigod as a divine being would reward him with more prizes. Mr. Tianwen responded that the reward would be 10 times more than what Han was getting for the time being. Han pondered over it for a moment and then filled out the cross-level challenge application form. The receptionist asked if Han had really thought about it. Han responded with a yes. Hearing this, the audience began discussing it. One man commented that demigods had higher levels of divine cores and were able to equip higher-level holy artifacts. The man continued, saying that demigods possessed divine orders and could utilize divine spells, questioning who had given this locust kid the courage to challenge the majesty of a demigod. Someone else comments that the locust kid seems overconfident, believing he was unbeatable in the divine being's tournaments. They also mentioned checking and finding out that Han only lost 3 matches. Mr. Tianwen nervously told Han that the odds were now 1 to 100 and people didn't like him. Han replied that he couldn't place a bet himself, so he wanted the teacher to bet 10 million divine power on him. Mr. Tianwen praised Han for his boldness and said he would also bet 5 million on him. He added that if Han won the match, he would reward him with a magic weapon. Han thanked Mr. Tianwen for his support. He then shared that he didn't care if Mr. Tianwen bought him a car or not. He was just excited about the fight. Han then realized that he hadn't added any holy artifact to his divine core since the recent upgrade and wondered what he should choose. The scene shifted to Han's realm, where he received a message from Yuan asking if he had extracted today's source of holy items yet. Han asked, "Last time you mentioned you could find holy items below level 4, right?" Yuan replied that he had a large stock of holy items below level 4 in his divine realm, and that Han could let him know if he needed anything. Han responded that he actually needed powerful level 2 holy items, preferably with attributes of poison, earth, darkness, and fire. As soon as he said this, Yuan immediately sent a box filled with level 2 holy items. Han chose to use the level 2 holy items, the Earth and Fire Plasma Orb and the Shadow Nail. After reading about them, he noted that they were perfect for the Immolated Locust and the Dark Locust, respectively. After using both holy items, Han's locusts were upgraded to the next levels, making them more reliable for future battles. Just then, Han received a notification for the battle, as the contestants were required to enter the arena. As Han entered the arena, the audience erupted in shouts and murmurs about him. They turned to Han's opponent, the Elephant Lord, and urged him to show Han the power of a demigod. Someone in the crowd even challenged Han to stay in the battle for 3 seconds, claiming they would lose all their money if he did. The Elephant Lord, looking at Han, said that he must be having a lucky day to face a newbie like him in the bloody arena. The Elephant Lord asked Han once more if he was ready to die along with his familiars, continuing to boast about his own strength and the power of demigods. Han simply responded, "That's a load of bullshit." The Elephant Lord then ordered his giant mammoth army to charge out. As the massive army appeared, the audience erupted in excitement, chanting and demanding that the mammoths crush Han. Han called out his own locust army in response. This time, he summoned the Shadow Stream Dark Locusts, the Poisonous Explosive Heavenly Demon Locusts, and the Earth Explosion Immolated Locusts. Lord Elephant asked if that was all of Han's strength, and if so, he was starting to get excited. With a smirk, he commanded his giant mammoth army to attack. Han commanded the Shadow Stream Dark Locusts to attack. The locusts struck at the mammoth's shadows with their stings, and to everyone's shock, the mammoths suddenly froze in place, unable to move. The audience was stunned, wondering if attacking the shadow could really affect the body. After seeing the mammoths freeze, Han commanded the Poisonous Explosive Heavenly Demon Locusts to attack. Seeing the locust effects, Lord Elephant scoffed and told Han that even if he could cultivate locusts into extraordinary life forms, it wouldn't matter. He claimed that even if his giant thunder mammoth stood still, Han wouldn't be able to hurt it at all. Han asked Lord Elephant if he was sure. At that moment, the Poisonous Explosive Heavenly Demon Locusts began to explode themselves. Lord Elephant realized that Han was trying to win by overwhelming him with numbers, but he knew he couldn't let that happen. Lord Elephant commanded the giant mammoths to attack and protect the giant thunder mammoth. Undeterred, Han ordered the explosive locusts to attack once more. The attacks from the explosive locusts caused significant damage to the giant thunder mammoth. In response, Lord Elephant had no choice but to use his brutal divine art, thick armor and blood aura, followed by his divine art of healing to protect and recover the mammoth. The divine art of healing restored the giant thunder mammoth, and Lord Elephant, looking at Han, admitted that Han had proven his strength by forcing him to use his divine art. Lord Elephant then told Han that he would allow him to admit defeat after killing 50% of Han's familiars. Han smiled and asked, "Does Lord Elephant really think this is all he have?" Han shouted that the word giving up was not in his dictionary, and then commanded the bull demons to come out. Seeing this, Lord Elephant was stunned, wondering if Han truly had a bull demon clan under his command. The bull demons charged forward, starting to beat the giant mammoths. At the same time, Han called for the skeleton clan to emerge and attack. 3 higher-level skeletons appeared from the clan ready to join the battle. The 3 higher-level skeletons were the Bone Reviver, Bone Controller, and Skeleton Lord. Han turned to the Bone Reviver and told him that he was counting on him. The Skeleton Lord was surprised to hear this, but the Bone Reviver didn't hesitate and rushed forward to attack. As the Bone Reviver began reviving skeletons from one of the dead mammoths, Lord Elephant grew tense, concerned about the damage caused by the skeletons and the bull demons. Despite this, he warned Han not to think that this would be enough to deal with a demigod. Lord Elephant ordered the giant mammoths to use their powerful ability, War Stomp. The mammoths began smashing the skeletons under their mighty feet. In response, Han commanded the Bull Demon clan to retreat and told the Bone Controllers to take action. The Bone Controller stepped forward and destroyed one of the giant mammoths. Seeing the Bone Controller, Lord Elephant was taken aback, recognizing it as a heroic life form. Lord Elephant commanded his giant mammoth to grow to its maximum size. After the mammoth's massive form expanded, it let out a powerful roar and charged straight for the Bone Controller, ready to attack. The Bone Controller effortlessly held the now massive giant mammoth and slammed it into the ground with incredible force. After the impact, the Bone Controller, filled with aggression, immediately went for another powerful punch, aiming to strike the mammoth again. However, the giant mammoth boss managed to entangle the Bone Controller's hand and threw him away with great strength. Afterward, the mammoth roared fiercely and prepared to crush the Bone Controller underfoot. Before the giant mammoth boss could strike, a massive skeleton appeared and kicked the mammoth down with incredible force. Han then shouted, "It's time to end this," signaling the final move. The giant skeleton delivered a powerful punch to the giant mammoth boss, then grabbed its tusk and snapped it without hesitation. Seeing this, Lord Elephant was stunned and growing tense, urgently ordered the giant mammoth boss to get up and fight back. As the giant mammoth boss tried to rise, the giant skeleton broke its second tusk as well. Overcome with pain and defeat, the giant mammoth boss began to cry, unable to continue the fight. Han was also surprised. He had the Bone Controller learn close combat, but he hadn't expected it to be so effective on a giant skeleton, especially with such brutality. The overwhelming power of the attack caught him off guard. The giant skeleton boss then kicked the giant mammoth boss toward Lord Elephant. Seeing this, Lord Elephant grew tense and quickly ordered the other giant mammoths to surround it and wear it down, hoping to regain control of the situation. As the giant mammoths launched their attack, the giant skeleton easily overpowered them with powerful kicks and punches. However, despite its strength, the continuous onslaught from the growing number of giant mammoths eventually overwhelmed the skeleton, causing it to fall to the ground. At that moment, Lord Elephant commanded his mammoths to crush the bone skeleton at all costs. In response, Han ordered the bull demons to rush in and help rescue the giant skeleton, hoping to turn the tide of the battle. The bull demons charged in, attacking the giant mammoths to distract them. Meanwhile, the Bone Controller rose back up and began extracting skeletons from the fallen giant mammoths, ready to use them in the fight. The audience was stunned by the sight, amazed at the incredible turn of events. They realized that Lord Elephant's familiars were already fewer than 1,000 compared to Han's growing army, tipping the balance in Han's favor. The audience began praising Han, calling him the Locust Kid and marveling at his incredible strategy, declaring it a complete wipeout. Finally, Lord Elephant, defeated, admitted his loss. As he did, the core fragment was extracted from the fallen mammoths, signaling the end of the battle. After receiving the core fragment, Han realized that the one obtained from defeating a demigod was significantly heavier. Just then, he heard a voice announcing that the management of the Bloody Arena would like to meet him. Han was suddenly transported to a room, looking confused and unsure of what was happening. Then he heard the voice again, reassuring him not to be afraid, saying that it was the management of the Bloody Arena speaking and that they wouldn't hurt him. In response, Han asked the management what they were thinking, bringing him into the room. The management replied that they had watched his game and were impressed by his display of talent. They said it proved Han was worthy of becoming the heir to the Bloody Arena. The management explained that the Bloody Arena is a test designed to choose a successor for the master. Anyone who can win a challenge and rise through the ranks is considered qualified to become the successor of the Bloody Arena. Hearing this, Han was stunned and shockingly asked, "What? The successor of the Bloody Arena?" Han began to wonder about it, considering the sheer scale of the Bloody Arena. With such a huge flow of people and numerous races coming and going every day, the amount of divine power earned from these crowds was no small fortune. Han couldn't help but think that such a massive opportunity couldn't have fallen into his lap so easily. There had to be something fishy going on, something he wasn't seeing yet. Han took a deep breath and said that before making any decision, he needed to know how many successors there were in the Bloody Arena and what the perks and responsibilities of being a successor entailed. The management responded, saying they could tell Han wasn't blinded by immediate interests, which was truly surprising. Seeing that Han was sincere in his question, they agreed to explain everything to him. The management began explaining that there are currently 349 successors in the bloody arena. Among them, 221 are divine beings, 118 are demigods, 9 are true gods, and 1 is a supreme god. The management explained that upon becoming a successor, Han would be given the eternal coordinates of the bloody arena. This would allow him to teleport to any of the realms included in the bloody arena without needing any equipment, though each teleport would cost 1 million divine power. In addition, Han would receive a license to build a special blood arena in his divine realm, where he could raise familiars. As for the responsibility, when the number of successors reaches 500, the bloody arena would begin the succession ceremony, which would be held within the arena itself. The management explained that the best of the 500 successors would become the master of the bloody arena, so Han must participate if he wishes to claim that title. Han thought to himself that the succession ceremony would definitely not be a simple affair. He imagined that the 500 heirs would likely have to fight it out, with only one remaining to become the master of the bloody arena. Han also thought to himself that being the 350th successor, he still had a long way to go before reaching 500. By the time that happened, he might have already become a supreme god. The management then asked again if Han was willing to become a successor. Han responded with a yes, and the moment he did, he was transported back to Mr. Tanwen. Mr. Tanwen, looking pleased, happily shared that Han was truly his lucky star, as they had made a fortune this time. Hearing Mr. Tanwen's words, Han looked confused and asked what happened. Mr. Tanwen handed him his phone and told him to take a look. When Han checked the phone, he was stunned to see $1 billion in his bank account. Mr. Tanwen suggested that Han buy a proper magic weapon first. Han, still confused, asked, "What, a magic weapon? I'm just a divine being, not even a demigod. How could I possibly control a magic weapon?" Mr. Tanwen reassured Han not to worry, saying, "I'm your teacher. How could I harm you?" He then told Han that he knew of a store that sold magic weapons, and that the store could definitely help Han find the right one for him. Han, feeling relieved that he could finally get the magic weapon, suddenly heard Lord Elephant's voice from behind, shouting that he was coming for him. Han, tensing up in panic, quickly hid behind Mr. Tanwen, pleading to save him. Mr. Tanwen boldly shouted that he was with Han, challenging anyone who dared to hurt his student. Lord Elephant quickly responded, assuring them not to take him wrong, as he hadn't come to take revenge on Han. Lord Elephant explained that he had come to make friends with Han, revealing that he was actually a freshman at Western University, and his real name was Shang Mang. Hearing this, Han realized that Shang Mang's power came from being a student at Western University. Shang Mang then asked Han which university he was preparing for. Han, feeling embarrassed, responded that he wasn't a reserve student for any university. He was just an average high school student. Mang, shocked, asked, "What? That's impossible." In response, Han asked Mang why he would lie to him. He then pointed to Mr. Tanwen, saying that Mr. Tanwen could vouch for him and confirm that he was just an average high school student. Mr. Tanwen explained that Han had been invited to many universities, but Han had set his sights on joining Imperial University. However, the teacher in charge of Imperial University wasn't interested in him, which led to Han's current situation. Mang shared that he thought highly of Han, and since Han would be his junior, he would report Han's case to his university that night. He added that the university would most likely send someone to test Han afterward. Mang also suggested that Han return and upgrade the core of the familiars as much as possible. This way, Han might have a chance to make it onto the reserve list for the Imperial University. Han curiously asks if Mang would really help him. Mang laughs and replies, "Yes, of course. You have great potential, and the path to becoming a god is a long one, and it's naturally easier to have several partners who can rely on each other than to fight alone." Moreover, once he recommends Han to the university, and if Han passes the test, the university will give him a bonus in the form of resources. So, why wouldn't he take the free reward? Han thanks Mang for the help. Finally, as he leaves, Mang suggests that Han should invest more resources in his core familiars in the near future, and preferably, cultivate a heroic life form. The scene then shifted to Wanbao streets, where Mr. Tanwen had taken Han to a shop called Treasure Pavilion. They went inside, and a girl inside welcomed both of them. The girl asks what level of equipment Han is looking for, or if he came to meet a master forger. She then asked a worker to contact Master Tony and inform him that Mr. Tanwen is visiting. Hearing the name, Han thinks it sounds like a good hairdresser and wonders if Tony is a professional forger or not. The girl then asks Han and Mr. Tanwen to step through the portal. When they both walked in, Mr. Tony asks Mr. Tanwen if he brought a nice fat sheep this time. Upon hearing this, Han tensely looks at Mr. Tony and wonders if it's too late to run. Mr. Tanwen tells Tony to be serious since Han is his student. After hearing this, Tony becomes serious and says he will explain how their store works. Tony explains that their store is welcoming to everyone, but they don't have student packages. Hearing this, Han was stunned and wondered if Mr. Tony was serious. There was no student package. It's not easy for students to earn money. One has to work so hard to make $1 billion. Mr. Tianwen laughs and tells Han that Mr. Tony is a tough talker, but he's an excellent forger. Mr. Tony smiles at Mr. Tianwen's comments, but deep down he's angry about them. He wonders that if it hadn't been for Mr. Tianwen introducing him to the guest, he would have beaten that person. Mr. Tony then calms down and asks Han to follow him so he can show him his work. He leads Han to a room and shows all kinds of equipment, explaining that each piece has his stamp of approval and was made by him. Han was amazed by all the equipment and weapons. Just then, Mr. Tianwen asked about Han's choice. Han started thinking, considering the possibility of facing a test from Western University in the future. Han noticed that the goo pots were worth 4 divinity, which is less than 600 million divinity. He then shared that he wanted a 2-star magic pot, Goo Pot. The Goo Pot is a 2-star artifact, and its primary function is refining goo insects. This means it contains a space that can hold up to 100,000 insects to perform the goo ceremony. The insects will fight each other inside it, and the only one that survives in the end has a certain chance of leveling up. The highest possible level it can reach is the heroic life form. The Goo Pot's second function is an additional spell, Insect Attraction. This spell attracts insects from the surrounding area, with the range of the spell varying depending on the amount of divine power invested. Seeing Han's choice, Mr. Tianwen thinks that the 2-star artifact, the Goo Pot, doesn't have great power, but it's the most suitable artifact for Han. In his eyes, it's a great choice. Mr. Tony approaches Han and says that it costs 4 divinity or 580 million divine power, asking if Han thinks he can afford it. In response, Mr. Tianwen tells Tony to do him a favor and make it cheaper or give him something in exchange. Otherwise, he'll scold Tony. Mr. Tony agrees and takes out an artifact, telling Han that if he gives him 600 million divine power, he will give him a 0-star artifact, the Eye of Detection. Han agrees and buys the artifact. As they start heading back, Mr. Tony suddenly runs up from behind, shouting and asking them to wait for a moment. Mr. Tony shares that he has created a new special artifact based on the remnants of a lost civilization and believes it matches Han's style. Mr. Tianwen takes the artifact and asks Tony to let him check it. After inspecting it, he shouts at Tony, saying that he treated him like a friend, but Tony treats him like an idiot. Mr. Tianwen said this because he checked the ball and found that it had no power. Mr. Tony asks Mr. Tianwen to calm down and listen to his explanation. Mr. Tony explains that the artifact is called the Greedy Wolf, and it comes from a long-lost civilization. It grows by devouring other artifacts. He also shares that after looting valuable artifacts, they were only treated as scrap metal. The ruler of that civilization was particularly saddened by this and mobilized all the skilled craftsmen. After several eras of research, it finally created the divine artifact, the Greedy Wolf. A greedy wolf can grow by devouring artifacts and inherits the power of the artifacts it consumes. Because of its immense power, the Greedy Wolf attracted the wrath of dozens of civilizations. Mr. Tony steps closer to Han and tells him that they're offering a special discount at the store. This artifact from a lost civilization can now be Han's for only 1 billion divine power. He asks Han what he thinks about it. Hearing this, Han thinks to himself that it's too cheap. How could an artifact that caused the destruction of a powerful civilization be worth only 1 billion divine power? Is this some kind of joke? Seeing Han's confusion, Mr. Tony explains that the reason it's priced so low is because he got it from a fragment of a scroll. This artifact, the Greedy Wolf, has a few minor flaws. It can still devour artifacts to grow, but it will grow 10 times slower. After devouring an artifact, it can only inherit some passive skills, but cannot inherit divine spells. Mr. Tianwen asks if that means it's a waste. In response, Mr. Tony angrily replies that Tianwen can insult his personality, but he cannot insult his figure. Surprisingly, Han then says that he would buy it for 400 million. Mr. Tianwen suggests to Han that 400 million is a lot of money, and that's not how he should spend it. Han smiles and thinks to himself that the Greedy Wolf artifact can devour other artifacts, making it worth the price. Han imagines grabbing a powerful artifact from the enemy and not being able to destroy it easily. He thinks that if he gives the artifact to the Greedy Wolf to devour, it could still weaken the enemy's power. Han tells Mr. Tianwen that he thinks he has misunderstood him, as he truly appreciates the artifacts created by Master Tony. Han acknowledges that Mr. Tony was able to forge the Greedy Wolf artifact using only fragments from a scroll. Han tells Mr. Tony that based on his admiration for the Greedy Wolf artifact, he is willing to use all his divine power to support Tony's forging skills. However, Han explains that he's too poor and only has 400 million left, so he wonders if Mr. Tony would be willing to let it go for that amount. Mr. Tony asks Han if he really appreciates the artifact. Han responds with a confident yes, of course. Mr. Tony agrees, stating that money can't buy trust, so the Greedy Wolf is now Han's. The scene then shifts to Han's house, where he was performing the rituals. Han drops a drop of his blood into all the artifacts. As a result, the Goopot begins to recognize its master. After a few minutes, a frog emerges from it. Han tells the frog to start practicing, but he's surprised to see that the greedy wolf artifact doesn't react at all. Han wonders if the greedy wolf artifact requires more blood, thinking to himself that maybe it's a vampire-like artifact. But just a few seconds later, a creature emerged from the greedy wolf artifact. Seeing it, Han was stunned and wondered whether it was a wolf or some stupid dog. The wolf tells Han that it wants to eat artifacts. Han, feeling confused, wonders if the law of gluttony affects the wolf right after it was summoned. Despite his confusion, Han gives the wolf a divine core fragment to eat. After that, Han goes to check on his other familiars. He sees that everyone is doing great and looks very motivated. Thanks to the source of holy items he obtained before, Han had finally repaired and upgraded his law of gluttony to level 3. The effect of level 3 was incredibly powerful, allowing one to evolve into an elite life form just by eating. Han's eyes gleamed with excitement as he thought about the possibilities. With further repairs and upgrades, ordinary life forms could be evolved into extraordinary ones. If that happened, his locusts would be able to upgrade to extraordinary life forms as long as they had enough food. Then, Han imagined there would be tens of billions of extraordinary life forms. The scene shifted to 1 week later, where Han was surrounded by a massive swarm of locusts. Han shouts that it's time for a new sacrifice, announcing that 13 billion locusts will sacrifice now. For this, Han is given 3 options to choose from in return. He selects option 3, receiving a level 2 holy item, the Stone of Enlightenment. The screen displayed that once the Stone of Enlightenment was loaded into the divine core, there was a chance that the core familiars would be transported into a semi-human form. Excited by the Stone of Enlightenment, Han uses it without hesitation. As a result, the locusts begin to evolve, slowly taking on a humanoid form. Han, amazed by the transformation, gets dazzled and shouts that it's truly incredible. The locust familiar names are now changed to Locust Man, and they have evolved into extraordinary life forms. Han notices that the power of faith remains incredibly high. Suddenly, Han receives a call from Mr. Tianwen. When he picks it up, Mr. Tianwen informs him that Western universities have issued a notice for Han to take the test again. The next day, an admission teacher arrives at the school to test Han, telling him to be prepared by then. Han responds with an "okay, no problem." The scene shifts to the next day at school, where Xu approaches Han and asks how his divine realm is doing these days. He offers to help, saying that if Han is short on resources, he can let him know, as rare resources can't be bought online. Han asks Xu if his family can get divine core fragments to upgrade from level 7 to level 10 right now. Xu responds that it is possible to obtain them, but the price is a bit expensive. Even considering their student relationship, Xu says he could offer the divine core fragments for 400 million divine power. Hearing this, Han realizes that his poverty has limited his development. To Han's favor, Xu shares that his family has offered a deal. If Han could sell them 1,000 skeleton knights of extraordinary life forms, they could offset the amount of divine power needed. Han smiles and says, "It's a deal." Seeing this, Xu tensely thinks to himself that Han's reply was straightforward. If he had known earlier, he would have asked for the heroic life form bone controller instead. Just then, Mr. Tianwen enters the classroom and informs Han that the assessment teacher from Western University has arrived and is waiting for him at the teacher's office. When Han arrives at the office, he finds Principal Karan there. Upon seeing Han, Karan also gets visibly annoyed. Karan thinks to himself that while Han didn't pass the test, he managed to get an internal recommendation. However, he wonders what the point is, as the test for Western University is much harder than the high school test. To prevent cheating, only core familiars are allowed to take the test. Karan thinks to himself, asterisk, what is this kid, Han's core familiar? Some low-form locusts, asterisk. Karan then tells Han that he will be testing him on behalf of Western University and asks if Han has any questions. Han responds with a simple no. Karan explains that the test involves invading a small civilized village on the edge of the countryside called Dulong City. He adds that this civilization has a well-established hierarchy and career system, which will influence Han and his familiars during the test. Karan continues, explaining that once Han is recognized by the system as a disaster demon, the professionals in Dulong City will relentlessly hunt him down until he is completely destroyed. Han's mission was simple, to kill at least one master guarding Dulong City. Han then asks Karan, how many troops and masters are there in Dulong City? Karan explains, although Dulong City is a small city on the border, it has a population of 10 million. Over 10% of its population are professionals, and there are 5 heroes among them. Karan adds, for any other information, you'll need to explore it yourself after arriving in the city. You have 1 hour to prepare. Han tells Mr. Tianwen that he would like to use his recently obtained class points to exchange for 3 level 1 holy items. Mr. Tianwen agrees and asks Han to make his selection. The scene shifts to Han's Divine Realm core, where he first upgrades it to level 10 by pouring in the Divine Core fragments. After completing the upgrade, he decides to load the 3 holy items he obtained. The first item is a level 1 holy item called Poison Gland. It provides a certain chance for the core familiars to acquire the poison attribute and develop a poison gland. The second item is a level 1 holy item called Earth Core. It offers a chance for the core familiars to gain earth attributes and enhance their defense. The third item is a level 1 holy item called Goblin Short Bow, which serves as both a holy item and a divine weapon. It provides a chance for the core familiars to gain the ability to summon the short bow as their weapon. Sometimes, even the host can gain the ability to summon the Goblin Short Bow. After loading the items and completing the process, Ham observes the results and shares his findings. Most of the Dark Locusts now have poison glands, half of the immolated Locusts have improved defense, and nearly all the Locust men can now fight with short bows. The scene shifts to 1 hour later, where Karen explains to Han, "Once you hold the globe, you and your core familiars will be teleported to the outskirts of Dulong City." The moment Han touches the globe, he and his core familiars are instantly teleported to the area. Upon arriving, Han is immediately identified as a demon and assigned the code name as King of Demonic Locusts. In front of him, a screen appears displaying all his information. Han, curious, wonders if this is his personal information panel. Han then checks if the panel can provide information about the 2 new hero life forms, the Locust Men. He slides the screen and to his surprise, finds the information for the Locust Men. It shows they are at level 60. Han wonders what the concept of level 60 means. Just then, a Locust man approaches Han and informs him that creatures are attacking them. Han quickly mounts a Locust and tells him, "Let's go and check the enemy's situation." In the next scene, the focus shifts to a group of adventurers. One of them, named Thorn, looks frustrated as he exclaims, "So many monsters just appeared out of thin air." In response, another adventurer, a professional named Wrath Boxer Akash, tells Thorn to be happy. He explains, "The more monsters there are, the more bounty we'll earn. With the money, they can improve the strength of their team." Among the adventurers are also Water Sage Anna and Fire Mage Rose. Thorn, taking charge, warns everyone to be careful and reminds them to look out for each other. Han uses the Eye of Detection to analyze the adventurers. He observes that all 4 of them share the same badge, but there's a key difference. Thorn's badge is made of silver, while the badges of the other 3 adventurers, Anna, Rose, and Akash, are made of bronze. Han understands that Thorn is the leader based on the silver badge. Thorn then tells his team that there are too many monsters to defeat and they can't kill them all. He instructs everyone to get ready to retreat now. At that moment, Han commands the Locust Man to go and test the adventurer's strength. The Locust Man steps forward and tells the adventurers, "You can't run." Upon seeing the Locust Man, Thorn immediately recognizes it as a 3rd-tier demon and shouts, "Run." Thorn urgently orders everyone to run in different directions as he plans to buy them time. He then slashes at the Locust Man with his sword, but to his shock, the Locust Man doesn't even get a wound on his body. The Locust Man delivers a powerful kick to Thorn, sending him crashing to the ground. Afterward, the Locust Man swiftly chases down the other adventurers. Within minutes, he captures them all and ties them together. As Han gets closer to the group, Akash shouts, warning him not to come any closer. Han calmly responds, "If you want to leave alive, just answer my questions obediently." Han asks the adventurers what they think of him. Akash defiantly responds that he wouldn't answer a monster's question. In response, the Locust Man immediately attacks Thorn, intensifying the situation. Seeing the attack, Han shouts, "I was just trying to scare Akash, but the Locust Man actually did it." The girl adventurers begin shouting in fear, overwhelmed by the situation. Han then commands the Dark Locust to poison all of the adventurers. Thorn, now desperate, asks Han, "What do you want?" Han responds with a calm yet intense question. "What do I look like in your eyes, Thorn?" Thorn starts describing Han with big eyes, long antennae. Hearing this, Han tenses up and wonders if the Locust Man's appearance is not just coincidental. He suspects that the realm may be deliberately making invaders look like demonized creatures, perhaps as part of a deeper strategy. Han praises Thorn for his cooperation and tells him to keep answering his questions. 3 hours later, the scene shifts and Han, having gathered all the information he needed, unties Thorn and tells him, "You can go now." Once Thorn is untied, he quickly starts running, thinking to himself that he must hurry and report the news about the monster army to the Adventurers Guild. Han follows Thorn, and as he spots the target location, he apologizes, saying he can't reveal his information just yet. Han tells Thorn to rest until he completes his mission, assuring him that he would be fine once he's gone. Han orders the Dark Locust to poison Thorn, causing him to become dizzy. As Thorn staggers, Han reflects on the information he gathered. According to Thorn's answers, there are millions of adventurers in the Dulong City Adventurers Guild. Han thinks to himself that if they attack directly, the combined combat power of his 3 locusts, which is equivalent to the 3rd tier, would be far from enough to take on the entire guild. Han realizes that in order to take on the guild, he needs to find a way to increase their combat power. He thinks that reaching at least level 60, or achieving the 3rd transformation or higher, would be necessary to hold their ground in the battle. Suddenly, Han notices that the goblins are praising him like a god. Seeing their devotion, Han thinks to himself that it may not be much, but it's better than nothing. Han interprets that while most of the goblins are of low level, the goblin leader is actually level 62 and has achieved the 3rd transformation. Han asks the goblin leader to answer his questions directly, specifically how he acquired his profession. The goblin leader responds that he gained his profession by eating a large number of profession fragments left behind by adventurers. Hearing this, Han becomes excited and thinks that if this is the case, then his locust men can also acquire professions. He orders his locusts to keep a close eye on the whereabouts of adventurers and collect the profession fragments for him. 3 days later, Han collects a significant amount of profession fragments and decides it's time to start fusing them. After the fusion process, Han is presented with 4 options to choose from. Han chooses the archer option, thinking that long-range attack power would be essential. He realizes it's the perfect fit for his heroic life form and decides to grant this ability to them. Han was excited to see his Locust Man upgrade to an explosive magma demon Locust Man after fusing the profession fragments. He realized that if the Locust Man could absorb 1 more of the appropriate 1st transformation professions, it would further increase their strength. Han's excitement grew as he considered the potential of the Locust Man. With another boost from a suitable profession, the Locust Man could reach the 3rd transformation, significantly enhancing its abilities. This upgrade would make defeating heroes much easier, giving Han the upper hand in the upcoming battles. A small locust approached Han and said they had found a cave that emitted a powerful aura, preventing them from getting too close. Han immediately asked the locusts to lead him there. A few minutes later, the scene shifted to the cave. Even Han could feel the strong aura with a touch of divine power, making it worth investigating. Once inside, Han saw a dragon within the cave. Han says he learned in class that some civilizations in the outer world often sealed enemies they couldn't easily kill. It seems the black dragon in front of them is a poor creature sealed here by someone powerful. Han uses his detection eye and learns the dragon's name is Black Dragon Elphys. Suddenly, Black Dragon Elphys opens his eyes and the Locust Man tries to act, but Han shouts and tells them to step back. The Dragon Elphys then asks Han how he dares to interrupt the great rebel Black Dragon Elphys during his meal. Elphys even warns Han that he will eat his soul and devour his flesh. As the dragon was about to attack, Han told the Locust Men to retreat. 5 minutes later, Han returned and asked Dragon Elphys if he was finished. Dragon Elphys shouts that Han truly dares to mock the great rebel Black Dragon Elphys and declares he won't forgive him. Tense, Han retreats once again. After 10 minutes, Han returned and told Dragon Elphys that he didn't come to fight but to help him. Dragon Elphys replies that he sees through Han's tricks and tells him to leave the cave before he gets angry or he will devour him. Han takes out his bow and asks if Dragon Elphys still has the power to devour while trapped in the cave. However, when Han shoots an arrow, it simply bounces off Dragon Elphys upon impact. Dragon Elphys tells Han that his defenses are invincible, so Han can't hurt him. Han then attacks with a sword, but once again, nothing happens to Dragon Elphys. Han realizes that Dragon Elphys won't speak properly until he's hurt enough, so he infuses 10,000 points of divine power and uses Wind Slash on the dragon. This time, Dragon Elphys takes a little damage and angrily asks how Han dares to harm him. Han takes out another weapon and tells Dragon Elphys that he has plenty more, warning that if the dragon keeps yapping, he might end up dead. Dragon Elphys asks what Han wants. Han explains that he has a mission to kill a hero of Dulong City, but he's not strong enough to take on a hero alone, so he needs Dragon Elphys' help. Dragon Elphys tells Han that he has been sealed in the cave for hundreds of years and can't leave, so he wonders how he could help Han. Dragon Elphys explains that the chain locking him in the cave is a divine artifact created by the Adventurers Guild specifically to seal him there. Not even his dark power can break it, let alone Han's weapon. Han then asks if Dragon Elphys is saying the chain is an artifact. Dragon Elphys responds with a yes, that's right, and adds that he hates lying. Han takes out the Greedy Wolf artifact and says that he has an idea. Han tells the Greedy Wolf to eat as much as it likes. As it devours the chain, one of them is removed. Dragon Elphys, surprised, asks Han to help him break the other chains as well. Dragon Elphys again tells Han that he is commanding him to break the chains. Han, angered, asks Dragon Elphys what he just said. Dragon Elphys repeats his words once again. Han, frustrated, tells him that he has shown his sincerity by breaking one of the chain artifacts, but all Dragon Elphys has done is give orders. He asks, "What the hell does Dragon Elphys think he is?" Dragon Elphys asks what Han wants him to do. He says that if it's just to kill a hero, he'll do it, but Han needs to help him break the chains as well. Han tells Dragon Elphys that he has changed his mind. Now he wants the dragon to serve him for the next 100 years as payment for rescuing him. Hearing this, Dragon Elphys is stunned and shouts at Han. Han responds calmly, saying that if he could save Dragon Elphys, he could also kill him. Han tells Dragon Elphys that if he doesn't agree to his demands, then Elphys will become a stepping stone for him to increase his power. Han adds that he has heard dragons are full of treasures, and he wonders how many good weapons the dragon's bones could provide him with. Dragon Elphys agrees to Han's terms and says he's willing to serve him for the next 100 years. He urges Han to unchain him as soon as possible, as he doesn't want to spend another second trapped in the chains. Han tells Dragon Elphys not to worry and insists that he just needs to sign a contract first. In response, Dragon Elphys shouts that a dragon can never be a slave, just never. At that moment, Han takes out the divine fragments and tells Dragon Elphys that he can feel the dragon is very weak now. He adds that after Dragon Elphys signs the contract, he'll give him the Dark Stone as a snack. Seeing the Dark Stone, Dragon Elphys signs the contract without hesitation. Afterward, Han commands his little wolf to go and eat all the chains. Within seconds, Dragon Elphys is freed. The scene shifts to the Dulong City Adventurers Guild building, where a hero named Marshal St. Kazama tells everyone that the Black Dragon has just been freed from its seal and must be in a weak state. Kazama suggests that the 5 of them should work together to eliminate the dragon. The Saintess named Nanny responds that after the Black Dragon escapes from the seal, he will likely find a secret place to hide and regain his strength. The area outside the city is vast, so Nanny tells Kazama that if he wants to find the dragon, he will need the help of all the adventurers in Dulong City. A swordsman named Shinshin points out that the dark power emitted by the Black Dragon will strengthen a large number of monsters. He suggests that before the monsters start their rampage, they must strike first and take the lead. A hero named Windwalker Bakken laughs and asks why everyone is so nervous about a Black Dragon that just broke out of the seal. He then asks Dragon Slayer Kabao if he doesn't think the same. Kabao responds that it's just a giant lizard, not worth making a fuss over. He adds that he once killed a wind dragon on his own. While it was tough, it wasn't so hard that it should disrupt all the adventurers in Dulong. Kazama shares that this Black Dragon is different. According to the records, the Black Dragon is a rebel of the dragon race, so they should not underestimate it. Kabao angrily asks if Kazama is questioning his strength, stating that he is the 4th transformation demon slayer ordained by fate, and the only purpose of his existence is to slay dragons. Kazama tenses up and doesn't respond. Kabao then tells everyone that he will deal with the Black Dragon, and they just need to focus on protecting Dulong City. Bakken shouts that he supports Kabao in this and that he will go with him. The scene shifts to Han, who has gathered all the demon and monster races to talk with them. Han shouts, asking if they all want to get slaughtered by the adventurers. The great rebel Black Dragon Elphys calls for an alliance of all monsters to fight against the Adventurers Guild. Hearing this, all the species ask if they could really hunt down the adventurers. At that moment, Han thinks that the strength of his familiars is limited. If he wants to win, he'll have to use these shrimps and crabs to keep the adventurers in check. Han tells everyone that the Monster Alliance offers a reward in the form of power crystals. Han explains that monsters of all races can come to him to exchange their equipment and profession fragments obtained from killing adventurers for power crystals. A few days later, the scene shifts to Han taking a bath in the blood of Dragon Elphys. Dragon Elphys shares that his blood can help Han break through to the 3rd transformation. Dragon Elphys, feeling dizzy and anemic, says it's not too much to ask for 500 dark crystals. Han responds, telling Dragon Elphys to stop playing the weakling. Han asks Dragon Elphys if he thinks 500 dark crystals are cheap. He tells the dragon that he will pay in installments. A few minutes later, Han successfully advances his 2nd transformation profession to the 3rd transformation profession. Han activates the skill Black Dragon transformation. Its appearance changes to resemble a dragon, and his title becomes King of Locusts. His level increases to 125. Han thinks that now he would be able to take on the heroes of Dulong City on his own. Suddenly, Dragon Elphys starts acting strangely. Seeing Dragon Elphys acting strangely, Han confusingly asks what happened. At that moment, both Kabao and Bakken arrive near the dragon. Kabao says that if he kills the dragon, his profession as a demon slayer will surely reach a new level. Kabao then asks Bakken to shield him and not let any other monsters disturb him. Bakken reassures Kabao, saying not to worry as he won't let any monster interfere. Bakken creates a storm barrier. As they get closer, they see Han, and Bakken comments that he didn't expect such a powerful monster to be outside Dulong City. However, he says he won't let Han stand in the way of Kabao's battle. At that moment, Han thinks to himself that he wanted to practice his skills and then go to Dulong City to find a hero to kill, but he didn't expect to find a hero right at his door. Han uses his eye of detection to gather all the information about Bakken. Meanwhile, Bakken switches his weapon and Han throws daggers at him to launch an attack. Bakken jumps and dodges the attack. Afterward, Han realizes that Bakken is suddenly behind him, and he's attacked from both sides. Han is stunned, wondering how two Bakkens managed to get there. Han first commands the locusts to break the barrier. Meanwhile, Cabal begins fighting with Dragon Elphys. As the battle intensifies, Dragon Elphys tries to summon other dragon souls to aid him. Suddenly, Cabal appears behind Dragon Elphys, preparing to backstab him. Even Dragon Elphys senses the attack coming. Despite sensing the attack, Dragon Elphys is unable to do anything and is struck by Cabal. The dragon falls to the ground and Cabal commands the dragon souls to take Dragon Elphys back to Dulong City. Afterward, Cabal asks if Bakken needs his help. Bakken responds with a no, saying he can handle it by himself and asks Cabal to go back first. As Dragon Elphys is taken by the dragon's souls, Han shouts and commands the locusts to break the storm barrier regardless of the cost. The locusts finally break the barrier, surprising Bakken, who wonders how they managed it. Afterward, the locusts begin attacking Bakken. He laughs and asks if the ants think they can take down a tree. But soon Bakken realizes that if he stays, he will die. He tries to retreat, but it's too late. All the locusts surround him, devouring him completely, leaving only his skeleton behind. After Bakken is killed, Principal Karen's screen appears, and he announces that Han has completed the mission. He then tells Han that they will now open a portal for him to return. But Han shouts, asking Karen to wait as he can't go back yet. Karen, surprised, asks if Han wants to rescue Black Dragon Elphys. Han responds that he has to save Dragon Elphys because the dragon is his contractual partner. Karen warns Han to be careful, saying that if he tries to rescue Dragon Elphys, he will have to face 4 heroes more powerful than Windwalker. Karen adds that Han will also have to face millions of professional adventurers and civilians who could become soldiers if they picked up a weapon. He warns that even a demigod would have a high chance of failure against such a massive force. Han responds that he knows the challenge, which is why he's asking to release all of his familiars from his divine realm to fight together. In exchange, he's willing to take the initiative to increase the difficulty of the task and change it to capturing the entire Dulong City. Hearing this, Karen is stunned and praises Han for having some guts, agreeing to his request. Finally, Karen tells Han that in his eyes he's the real deal and advises him not to fall into a place like that. Han now has the Taijian Red Forge Dwarves clan with its heroic life form, Bull Demon clan and the Bull Demon Shaman heroic life form, and the Skeleton clan with Bone Controller, Skeleton Lord, and Bone Reviver. At that moment, Han thinks that there are too many adventurers in Dulong City. Although his familiars are strong in combat power, there are too few in number to take on the entire city. Now Han realizes he needs help to keep the low-level adventurers at bay. It looks like it's time for the Monster Alliance to come into play. He orders the locusts to send messages to his associates. Han then asks Taijian and the Bull Demon Shaman to join him. Later, the scene shifts to some goblins and a wolf discussing the situation. The wolf said it was ridiculous that the Black Dragon's little locust servant came to invite them to storm the city to rescue him. In his opinion, they should just kill Han, take his power crystals, and divide them. Before the wolf could finish, his head was slashed by someone. The goblins were stunned to see it, while Han laughed at the thought of a bunch of ants planning to kill him. Han then shouted at the goblins, saying it seemed they were tired of living. One goblin responded that they were all loyal to the Black Dragon and asked Han who he was to try and take advantage of them. Han attacked the goblin and told everyone he wasn't inviting them to attack the city but ordering them. He warned that anyone who disobeyed would die. All the monsters bowed before Han, agreeing to obey his orders. Han then told everyone to listen carefully, announcing that their next destination was Dulong City. The scene shifted to inside Dulong City, where Dragon Elphys was captured and bound in chains. The boy said that the dragon-slaying ceremony had been arranged in the square. Additionally, the Saint Nanny asked why Bakken didn't return with him. Cabal then realized it had been 12 hours and wondered if Bakken had gotten himself into trouble again. Cabal replied that after the ceremony ended, he would go and bring Bakken back himself. Suddenly, to Cabal's surprise, he heard the siren. The guard informed him that a large number of monsters were attacking Dulong City. All the adventurers quickly got ready to fight. As the adventurers went to fight, they saw that treants, goblins, and trolls had all appeared. They then called on the mages to use magic to bring down the flying monsters. But before they could act, arrows from the locust men shot them down. The battle then began between the adventurers and the monsters. The treants and trolls were dealing a lot of damage. Han also ordered the Bone Controller and Bone Reviver to join the fight. The Bone Controller began collecting the skeletons of the adventurers and used them to fight against the other adventurers and guards. Suddenly, the Saintess stepped in front of a treant and used her Rosebud Forest attack to capture it. Shinchin also arrived and began slashing through the monsters with Fire Slash. Kazama then called out to all the adventurers, telling them to take their positions.